It's Jon and Jim.
Let's face it, in your particular field, you're the top minds.
Your favorite pair.
Interesting job you guys had.
Very smart and very modern.
They are Jon and Jim.
That's all you need to know about me.
I did see net rankings came out today, and there's some crazy net rankings out there because of how few games have been played so far.
Early, yeah. I mean, you got the San Diego State's at 123, which again makes sense because they lost at home to Troy and they lost 2 out of 3 in Vegas.
Oregon's like in the 190s.
Oregon's near 200, yeah. So
Maybe
it's
like
I'm
a
not.
random team with a high net ranking that should not be there.
Now live from the studios of San Diego Sports 760, it's Jon and Jim.
What's going on, San Diego? Jon and Jim on a Tuesday. Jon is recovering from his colonoscopy, even though I saw him this morning, Brent. He was tweeting like right when he was supposed to be getting his colonoscopy. So that has me wondering, was the surgery, how was it? Why was he tweeting right when he was supposed to be having surgery? Why was he on his phone? There were a lot of tweets from Jon this morning during when he was supposed to have his colonoscopy, and it was a little weird.
Maybe he was all doped up on anesthesia.
Maybe, but anyway, Jon is out today. He's very soft, recovering from a colonoscopy. You could do a show after a colonoscopy. I mean, come on. It didn't take that long. I know he said it was going to take like 3 or 4 hours, but come on. He's fine. We were texting back and forth. So anyway,
you don't
Jon's
need your
off
butt
today.
to do radio.
You don't need, exactly. You can stand and do radio. It's fine. What is like when you recover from a colonoscopy? Can you sit down? Do you have to lay on your side? I don't know because I've never had one before. But anyway, Jon's recovering. He's off. He'll be back tomorrow. He's got to get ready for Aztec basketball anyway. So he'll be back on the show tomorrow. Kyle Glazer is going to join me today at 3 p.m. Our good buddy Darnay Tripp's going to join me at 5 p.m. as well. And we start off today's show with so Jeff Passan, whenever he writes something, I look at it as pretty close to gospel, right? Like if Jeff Passan's going to report something, I think it has legs. If it's from some rando person, that to me, I'm probably not going to take it, to the bank. I'm probably not going to look at that as something that I'm going to really put my mind to and say, all right, that's what's going to happen. But this morning, Jeff Passan wrote this. He wrote, with Kylie McDaniel, the top 25 trade candidates this winter and their potential best fits. So, of course, you got to look at it. What does he have? Does he have any Padres on the trade market? Does he have any Padres players that he thinks is going to get traded? For the Padres, he has this. The Padres grapple with a rotation that needs 3 spots filled behind Nick Pivetta and Joe Musgrove, who is returning from Tommy John surgery. Here's where my eyebrows raised. Their financial state comes into play. Okay. They need to move money. And dealing Jake Cronenworth is the easiest route to do so with his appealing versatility and 5 years and $60 million remaining on his deal. So looks like Jake Cronenworth might be on the block, everybody. Could you get something for Jake Cronenworth? I've said for the past year, trading Jake Cronenworth, you can replace him. To me, he is a replaceable player. I know that, fans, he's turned into a fan favorite. Don Orsillo might have a little bit of a problem because he won't be able to call, into the Crone zone anymore. But it looks like this team needs to move money. Shocker. You got a ownership situation that's a mess. They're trying to sell the team. You have no idea the future of your general manager. He's on a lame duck 1-year deal right now, unless they have had a secret contract extension that nobody knows about. and you're strapped for money. So how are you going to fix this problem? I know the hot rumor this offseason so far was, and this all, by the way, came from Yankees Twitter. The Padres are going to trade Fernando Tatis Jr. They need to trade Fernando. That's not happening. They actually still want to try to compete next year, guys. Trading Fernando Tatis Jr. or trading Jake Cronenworth. Which one of those moves clears money and also allows you to still compete? It's not even a question. Jake Cronenworth is the move. He is, to me, the easiest to replace. I mean, like, nothing against Jake. I like Jake. He's had some really good moments here in San Diego. The moment was back in 2022 in the division series against the Dodgers. That's like one of the best moments in Padres history, other than them winning the pennant in 98 and Tony's 3,000 hit. You got Jake Cronenworth's 2-run double, and I believe the 7th inning to give the Padres the lead over the Dodgers. That moment, pretty close to the top in Padres history. He's been an all-star. He's been a great clubhouse guy. He's got a nice set. He's got into the Crone Zone. He's got a nickname everybody loves. Are we about nicknames or are we about winning? Because to me, I'm about winning. And for this team to win, if you got to clear some money, Jake is the guy to trade. We've been talking about this on this show for the longest time. And it's a move that I would not be surprised with this offseason. Hell, I think I'd be surprised if they didn't make this move. I'd be surprised if they didn't trade Jake Cronenworth this offseason. Because it's looking like, according to Jeff Passan, they need to move money. Like, that is a key sentence in this, like, 3-sentence little blurb in Jeff Passan's article today about the top 25 trade candidates this winter, that the Padres need to move money. If they need to move money, who is the easier player to trade away? Probably Jake Cronenworth. You're probably not going to get a lot back for him. If AJ Preller is going to be that person and, hey, I'm going to draw the line in the sand like I do with every player on my roster and not budge until I get what I want, well, you're probably not going to get what you want for Jake Cronenworth, because I don't see you getting much for the guy. I really don't, especially if you want a team to take on his remaining 5-year, $60 million contract. If you want a team to take on the remainder of his deal, you're probably not going to get what you want. Could you get a major league player back for Jake? Maybe. But at the same time, I wouldn't push my luck. I wouldn't draw a line in the sand and have that be a hard line and not budge because I don't get a player back for Jake Cronenworth. Like, if you're trading Fernando Tatis Jr., yeah, you're drawing a hard line in the sand and you're not budging until you get what you want back for Fernando Tatis Jr. Jake Cronenworth, again, nothing against Jake. He's been a fine player. He's done a lot of good things in San Diego. He's been an all-star. He's had big clutch moments. But I mean, come on, let's be realistic here. Take away the nickname, take away the moments that he's had. Could you find a player that does exactly what Jake Cronenworth does for a fraction of what he's getting paid? Absolutely. 100%. Could you find a player that does what Fernando Tatis Jr. does and has the ability that Fernando Tatis Jr. does if you traded away Fernando Tatis Jr.? Probably not. But Jake, yeah, you can find another Jake Cronenworth out there for not even close to what he's getting paid right now. So a couple trade candidates, or at least, teams that was mentioned for potential trade partners for Jake Cronenworth trade. You got the Mariners, Pirates, Marlins, Royals. Okay. I mean, I'm not like an expert on the Mariners, the Pirates, the Marlins, and Royals systems, or who they're potentially could, trade for Jake Cronenworth. But at the end of the day, I think this is less about who you could get back for Jake and more about just getting the money off the books, because that 5 years, $60 million that Jake is owed, that could be very valuable somewhere else. When you're giving that money to a first baseman that can't hit for power and hits in the 240s and has a 700 OPS, plays fine defense, he's versatile, but that money could go somewhere else where you actually need to improve this team, like in the rotation, right? So at the end of the day, when I see a report from Jeff Passan that says that Jake Cronenworth could be a potential trade target, in particular because the Padres need to move money around, I will take that as Jake Cronenworth probably is going to get traded this offseason. And even if this report didn't come up, I would say the Padres should probably trade Jake Cronenworth this offseason. Because that money could go somewhere else where you actually need to upgrade and to improve and to fill holes. Jake, I mean, what did Jake do last year? He didn't have this great season. If you remember, his postseason was awful. Did he even have a hit against the Cubs? I don't think he had a hit against the Cubs, Brent. This past year, he hit 246, 11 homers, 59 RBIs.
Didn't he hit a home run? Who hit the home run in the?
That was Jackson Merrill.
Oh, okay. That's what I was thinking of.
So you got here's Jake's career. All right, he's a career. What is he? A career 247 hitter. A career 741 OPS guy. His OPS plus is 107. Usually league average is around 100. So you're paying a guy 5 years, $50 million remaining on his deal, or $60 million remaining on his deal. And he's a league average player at best. He burst onto the scene back in 2020 during the COVID year when Eric Hosmer had the bubble guts and they needed someone to step in to play first base, and he stepped in and he was fantastic. And every year since, he has got worse and worse and worse until he has gotten to a point where this is the player this is who Jake Cronenworth is. 247 hitter, 740 OPS guy, a 107 OPS plus. He's going to hit 10 to 15 homers. He's going to have 50 to potentially 70 RBIs for you. I think Jake Cronenworth, if you're going to try to move someone this offseason, Jake Cronenworth is the player that you need to move. I don't know if you're going to get a lot for him. My guess, you're not. My guess is you're not going to get much for him at all. But what you do get is the relief of the contract that was given to him a couple years ago. And at the time, it was like this team was just handing out money. And we're like, whoa, 7 for 80? Thought that was kind of a deal. And then the next year, you're like, well, they should have given it to Ha-Seong Kim because Jake Cronenworth had a god-awful season. He had 220. I think this is the move. I think Jake Cronenworth has to be traded. Has to be traded. You can replace a Jake Cronenworth, okay, for a fraction of what he's getting paid. We'll talk more about that later in the show. Also, Kyle Glazer is going to join me at 3 o'clock. Darnay Tripp, he's going to join me at 5 p.m. But coming up next, could Kyle Schwarber be making his way to the NL West? And are the Padres interested in him? We'll tell you next on Jon and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, tonight at 6 p.m. on San Diego Sports 760, it's SDFC's Midweek Live. Here from head coach Mike Ibarez, as well as interviews with players and coaches. Find out the latest club and MLS information. SDFC Midweek Live tonight at 6 p.m. on your home for SDFC San Diego Sports 760. The guys will wrap up SDFC's season as they lost in the Western Conference Finals to Vancouver. I'm sure they'll have a lot of positive memories tonight to talk about on the show. So that's at 6 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. So getting back to Jeff Passan's article today about the top 25 trade candidates this winter, I forgot to mention that Jake Cronenworth on this list of 25 top trade candidates. Brent, guess where he's on this list?
Out of 25?
Out of 25.
I'm going to say he should be 20th, but he's probably going to be 12th.
You were right the first time. He is that number 20. So he is 20th on the top 25 trade candidates this winter, according to Jeff Passan.
Well, the world makes sense then. I was waiting for you to be like, they have him as the number 3 trade candidate or some crazy thing like that.
Now, he also mentions the predicted chance of getting traded at 25%. I think that's a little low, especially when you throw out words like this team needs to move money. What other players on this roster are easily movable with big-time contracts? You can't move Yu Darvish. He's hurt. His career's basically over. You're not moving Manny. You can't move Xander. You're not moving Tatis. You're not moving Merrill. You're not moving Pivetta. And even then, I mean, that's just clearing about $20 million off for this year, but you're not moving them because you need them in the rotation. So, like, where on this roster do you have a guy with a big-time contract that's easily movable or relatively easily movable? Jake's the only guy, unless I'm missing somebody here. You know, you're not trading Joe. Nobody in the bullpen makes big-time money. Robert Suarez is a free agent. He's going to get paid big. We'll talk about the hot stove coming up here later in this hour. Luis Ariz, he's gone. King's gone. Cease is gone. There's nobody else on this roster with a sizable contract other than Jake to trade away, to free up money, to move money. So that's kind of weird. What if Jeff's going to say the Padres need to move money, but then puts it a Jake Cronenworth trade at 25% chance of happening? I would think that probably should be higher than that. Should it not? Again, am I missing something here? Is there anybody else on this Padres roster? And we just went through everybody with big time contracts. Am I missing anybody that has a big time contract that you're looking at right now and saying, you know what? That's a contract that they should move. Like I said, you're not moving Tatis's contract. You're obviously not moving Manny or Xander's contract. You're obviously not moving Merrill's contract. Pivetta, no. Musgrove, no. Nobody's making big time money in the bullpen. You have no, catching. You just re-upped with Ramon Laureano on his, I believe, $6.5 million option. That's not really big time money. Jake's it. Jake is it. Now I see in the chat you can't get anything for Jake Cronenworth. Yeah, I know. I know that. They probably know that as well. You aren't trading Jake to try and get the best players you possibly can. You're trading Jake to move money. Let's be real here. That's why you're trading Jake. You're trading Jake to move money. If you can get something back for him in your system, great. But at the end of the day, you're using Jake's about $11 million per year, and you're shifting that, and you're trying to fill out the rest of your rotation. And then, look, if you could re-sign Ryan O'Hearn, I would take Ryan O'Hearn over Jake Cronenworth every day of the week. And it's not even it's an easy decision for me. It would be Well, it would be the easiest decision if you put that in front of me. If you said you have to pick one, Jake at his remaining 5 years, $60 million, or Ryan O'Hearn at, let's just say, 3 for 30, 3 for 33. So they're both at 11 AAV, even though the whole point of this conversation is the Padres need to move money around. But still, I would take Ryan O'Hearn over Jake Cronenworth. Take the money out of the equation. Take the money out of the conversation. I'm still choosing Ryan O'Hearn over Jake Cronenworth. It's not even close. I know Jake is a fan favorite here, but guys, is it about winning or is it about nicknames? Because if it's about nicknames, then yeah, of course you're keeping Jake Cronenworth. Crone Zone. Don would love it. Sell merch, right? Everyone loves the Crone Zone. But you can get a better player than Jake Cronenworth at his position for far less money than what he's being paid. Jake is not this, like, you have to have him on your team guy. He went 0 for in the postseason last year. He is a 240-something hitter. Okay, he's a league average player. And for the last couple of years, he hasn't been able to hit lefties even if his life depended on it. So I'm doing everything I can this offseason. If I'm AJ Preller, if AJ Preller's still around, to move Jake Cronenworth. I see in the chat, why do you say you can't move Toddy? I'm not saying you can't move Toddy. I'm saying don't move Toddy. Because that's stupid. If you want to explore a Fernando Tatis Jr. trade in the future, sure. But for this season, no, not happening. And by the way, he has a no trade clause. You trade Fernando Tatis Jr., then you might as well just burn the whole thing down. What are we doing here if you trade Fernando this season, this offseason? You're just feeding into the narrative of fire sale on the heels of an ownership group that put the team up for sale. Like that, no, stop. Not happening. Jake, that is far more realistic than Fernando Tatis Jr. Far more realistic. All right, coming up next, Kyle Schwarber has been linked to a team in the NL West. Is it the Padres? I'll tell you what team he's linked to coming up next on Jon and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Mucinex 12-Hour DM. The Aztec basketball team is back at Viejas Arena tomorrow night to take on Utah Valley. Our pregame coverage will begin at 6 o'clock. John will have the tip a little after 7. In NBA news, New Orleans Pelicans forward Zion Williamson will miss extended time with a right adductor injury, sources told ESPN. Williamson, who already missed 11 games this season, is going to get looked at again in about 3 weeks. Since being taken at number 1 in the 2019 draft, Williamson has only played in 224 out of a possible 493 games. The Pelicans have the worst record in the NBA. Tonight at 6 o'clock, we have a special edition of SDFC Midweek Live. The guys look back at the team's great first season and look ahead at what's to come in the offseason. SDFC Midweek Live tonight at 6 o'clock. Say not today to cough and chest congestion with Mucinex 12-Hour. With just one pill, Mucinex 12-Hour works continuously to break up mucus and move it up and out. Mucinex 12-Hour, rid the congestion, kill the cough. Use as directed, kill the cough with Mucinex 12-Hour DM.
All right, back here on Jon and Jim on a Tuesday. John is recovering from his colonoscopy. John is very he thinks like you can't say anything on the radio yet. He's called me an a-hole like 3 times, yet he was scared to say colonoscopy on the radio. Like, it's okay, John. You can say poop. You can say colonoscopy. It's okay.
You know what I picture him doing right now? You remember that part in Forrest Gump when Forrest gets shot in the butt and he's just laying in the bed eating ice cream cones?
That's John.
That's John. He's just got like Jones bringing him ice cream cones all day. And
well, I want to know what he actually ate today, because he wasn't allowed to eat up until 10:30. I believe that's when his procedure was. I want to know, like, what's the first thing he ate after? Was he so hungry that he said, screw it, just give me a cheeseburger? Or did he eat like some stupid tofu salad or like some dried like banana? My guess is he probably had some dried banana and like a cranberry walnut salad or something. Because that would be so John. I know that if I didn't eat for 24 hours plus, Brent, I would get the biggest burger, French fries. Like I would chicken strips. Like I'm not going like salad here.
Well, the only thing is, if they put him under, he might have been a little woozy when he got out of it. It might not have like felt like eating. I remember all the surgeries I've ever had. You know, when I woke up, usually I puke and stuff like that. To where I'm not waking up. I'm like, yeah, let's go to the buffet.
True, but his first meal after, like, yeah, if you have to wait a little bit to like get something in your system, but then you feel fine, and later tonight, like, all right, what's the first like big meal I'm gonna have?
Celsius and Sun Chips.
That is the John Schaefer move.
Yeah, that's his go-to.
I literally, without Kristen, I don't know how. I was talking to Aaron about this last night. I don't know how he survives. Like, he doesn't know how to find places. He doesn't know like where to go get food. He doesn't go to the grocery store. Like, how does he survive? It's a question that I ask myself, because every time John tells me about what he eats or where he goes to get food, I'm like, what? It's just a very confusing person. When it comes to food, when it comes to finding food, John is a very confusing person. All right, so Kyle Schwarber, one of the top free agents on the market this offseason. The winter meetings are next week, guys. I mean, that came quick. If depending on how you have viewed this offseason. But the winter meetings are next week. Kyle Schwarber, I would say easily in the top 5 is the top 5 free agents this offseason. Hell, he might be top 3, top 2. But it's going to be interesting to see what Kyle Schwarber gets on the open market, because he is strictly a DH. He'll hit you 45 bombs. He is the quintessential power hitter in every lineup. He's not going to play the field. So are you going to give a DH $35 to $45 million a year? It's going to be interesting to see what Kyle Schwarber gets on the open market. But today, John Palmarosi, I would say that his hit rate, like 70%. And when you're a quote unquote insider, you need to have a better hit rate than 70%. But I think John Palmarosi, like, he gets some stuff right here and there. But anyway, he reported today on MLB Network that one of the teams that has inquired and checked in on Kyle Schwarber is a team in the NL West. First thought, it's the Dodgers, of course. No, it actually isn't. It's not the Rockies. It's not the D-backs. It's not the Padres. It's the San Francisco Giants. And the San Francisco Giants have been in the news lately about, the top free agent pitcher coming from Japan. They've been linked to him, but there's reports out there that they don't want to go out and spend the type of money that it probably is going to take to get this top pitcher from Japan. They'd have to spend upwards of maybe $300 million, like, the Yoshinobu Yamamoto deal. So they have money to spend, theoretically. And if they brought Kyle Schwarber into the fray, I mean, look, I don't know where the Giants are at as far as spending money goes, but last offseason, they spent money on Willie Abreu. Or no, sorry, Willie Adames. Willie Abreu. Willie Adames, they spent big money on him. They re-signed Matt Chapman. Logan Webb's there. Kyle Schwarber in the NL West. Wouldn't like that much if you're a Padres fan. Having to face Kyle Schwarber 12 times a year. We all remember what he did in the NLCS against the Padres. I was there. He hit a ball, Brent, and you'll remember this. I don't know if you were there or not, but he hit this baseball off of Yu Darvish in game 1 of the NLCS. I have never in person seen a ball hit farther than what Kyle Schwarber did when he hit that fastball 700 feet. Like, to the point where Juan Soto in right field didn't even move. It was not just like in the upper deck, it was way up the upper deck.
I think it's going to be one of those things. If he goes to the Giants, they're going to have to give him his own meter. You know how they have that McCovey Cove meter for all.
Yeah,
the,
it was that was like the bonds.
shots.
They had the bonds. Meter
he'll need his
there.
own, because as much as he pulls the ball, he's just going to hit like 50 in there every year.
Well, he's got it. I mean, AT&T Park or Oracle Park or whatever it's called nowadays, it plays right into Kyle Schwarber's hand. Like, it just plays perfectly for him. I don't know. I mean, that park sucks to hit at. It's awful, especially if you're a right-handed hitter. Like, good luck hitting homers there. But I mean, Bonds did it. Schwarber's not Barry Bonds, but he's got crazy pop. So, I mean, it might work there. But I mean, the stove is hot, guys. The stove is hot, and the winter meetings are next week. And it could be a very quiet winter meetings for the Padres. It could be a semi-active winter meetings for the Padres. I think baseball in general, it's going to be hopefully, fingers crossed, move after move after move, because that's what makes baseball fun in the offseason. When you have the winter meetings, you need to have a flurry of moves. If we get through the winter meetings next week and the top guys haven't signed and there's like a couple moves here and there, like, what are we doing, baseball? Like, that is your time to shine. Yes, football's going on, NFL, but college football, you got the playoffs being announced later next week. You're going to have a period of time where you can be, front and center as far as headlines go. And will the Padres make moves next week? I mean, your guess is as good as mine. It really is. I mean, shoot, we don't even know if AJ Preller is going to sign a contract extension or not. Like, that is still insane to me. The fact that he has not signed a contract extension yet, and the winter meetings are just about a week away. Insane. Absolutely insane. Speaking of the winter meetings and the hot stove, last night, the reliever market it got going with a big signing. We'll tell you what that was. We'll also tell you what that means for guys like Robert Suarez this offseason. Kyle Glazer is going to join me at 3 p.m. Darnay Tripp, he's going to join me at 5 p.m. All that coming up next on Jon and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, back here on Jon and Jim. Kyle Glazer is going to join me at 3 p.m. Talk about the Padres offseason, potential, Jake Cronenworth trade talk. Also, what's going on with this AJ Preller contract extension. Craig Stammen's the new manager. A lot to talk about with Kyle Glazer at 3 p.m. So last night, the hot stove for relievers officially got lit. Devin Williams signed a 3-year, $50 million deal with the New York Mets. Robert Suarez is going to get paid, guys. If Devin Williams is signing a 3-year, $50 million deal, and I'm Robert Suarez, I'm asking for 80 to 90 million. I mean, you have to, right? I mean, Devin Williams, yes, he had that great season with the Brewers a couple years ago. Then he blew it in the postseason, giving up that homer to Pete Alonso. Last year with the Yankees, okay year. Wasn't like Robert Suarez's year, I can tell you that. Devin Williams last year had a 4.79 ERA. He had a 4.79 ERA. And he's getting a 3 for 50. Now, again, it was just one season in the Bronx, and his previous 4 seasons before that, or excuse me, 3 seasons before that, he had ERAs in the 1. A 1.25, a 1.53, 1.93 ERA. So maybe going back to the National League will actually help Devin Williams, but still, coming off of a year with the year that he had, he's getting a 3-year, $50 million deal. And Robert Suarez is going to get paid. Edwin Diaz is going to get paid. There was reports earlier that the Mets are looking to also bring back Edwin Diaz. So if they could have Edwin Diaz and Devin Williams, if you're in the Padres bullpen, if you're Adrian Morhone, if you're Jeremiah Estrada, if they keep him in the bullpen, if you're Mason Miller, like you could get some big time contracts here in a couple years. Adrian Morhone, he's going to be a free agent after next year. If he puts together another season next year like he did this past year, yeah, he's going to get paid. Jeremiah Estrada can continue pitching the way he's been pitching. He is going to get paid. It's just, Dylan Cease resetting the starting pitcher market. I didn't have a chance to talk about it because I was off last week and I was getting destroyed in my mentions by Blue Jays fans, Brent, thinking that Dylan Cease was the next coming of like Roger Clemens. I mean, that deal is insane. I'm sorry, it's insane. 7 years for $210 million for Dylan Cease. Did the Blue Jays watch Dylan Cease pitch? Now, there are some things about Dylan Cease that are very, 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 very valuable. And I'll acknowledge that. 2 of them in particular, he'll give you 180 innings and he'll give you 200 strikeouts. That's worth a lot of money in today's game. When teams are just looking for guys to eat up innings, Dylan Cease can eat up some innings. And if you're looking for a guy that can strike out 200 guys in a season, Dylan Cease can strike out 200 guys in a season. But I watched Dylan Cease every single outing of his career in a Padres uniform. And if you told me the Padres signed him for 7 years, $210 million, I'd be like, what are you doing? Dylan Cease, he has his moments. And when he gets hot, he is literally unhittable. We saw him throw a no-hitter just a couple years ago. He pitched well in the postseason, albeit just 3 innings. I mean, come on, are we really going to say the guy was incredible just in 3 innings? I said that, in his 3 innings this past postseason, he showed a lot, and it wasn't his decision to be taken out of the game. It was Mike Schiltz. But still, if you're paying that guy that much money, if he's a $30 million a year pitcher, that's like, hey, you're starting game 7, and we need you to give us like 5 scoreless. Probably more. Dylan Cease is good $30 million a year good, $210 million for 7 years good. Blue Jays fans, they thought they got the next Roger Clemens or better. I mean, it was crazy. All my mentions were, Brent, dude, he strikes out everybody. Dude, look at his FIP. Look at his give me a break, dude. I watched Dylan Cease pitch. I watched every single pitch that he threw in a Padres uniform. Not a $30 million a year pitcher.
No, last week me and John talked. My analogy was the Blue Jays are almost like somebody that went to an auction but didn't understand how auctions worked. So the auctioneer's like, okay, we're going to start the bidding at $50, and the Blue Jays are like $210 million.
Yeah, $150 million. Like, sir, we started the bidding at $10.
Yeah, because there's overpaying and then there's overpaying, and that's what the Blue Jays did. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, we threw in an extra 10 mil just to make sure that nobody else went after him. It was like, no, let's just give him an extra 60 million than anyone else is going to give him.
I bet you the second that Scott Boras called Dylan Cease with this offer, or however it went down, he could not have signed faster. There is no way that he was getting a better deal than 7 years, $210 million. No chance. That is easily the best deal that he could have gotten on the market. There's a reason why he signed as fast as he did, because the Blue Jays offered him that, and Dylan Cease and Scott Boras looked at each other like, did they really just offer us that much money? Where do I sign?
Well, especially the day before, there was reports saying that the Yankees were going to offer him 160. So you go all of a sudden from 160 to 210.
Look, man, if they got the money to spend, go for it. I'm just saying that if you're a Blue Jays fan, and there were hundreds in my mentions, just be prepared to not like this deal. If you were a Blue Jays fan who thinks this is the greatest signing ever, then you better keep that same energy when he walks everybody and he has an ERA over 4. And just keep that same energy when Dylan Cease doesn't have good outings. Watch, Brent. He'll go out next year and have a 1.93 ERA, go 17-2, and win the Cy Young.
It's all going to be the American League. It'll be one of those things where, I think it was, which was it, Glavine, where he killed in the National League, and then he went to the Red Sox for that year, and he just sucked. And then as soon as he went back to the National League, he was good again.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, he's pitched in both American League and National League with the White Sox and the Padres, so it's not like it'd be new to him, but still, I mean, you're going to the from the NOS with huge ballparks to the AL East with Yankee Stadium. You got Fenway,
a lot of short porches.
A lot of short. Good luck, man. Good luck. Good for him, though. I mean, I bet that he saw that and he's like, yeah, can I sign right now, please? Good for him. It just sucks, though, because that contract completely reset the market for starting pitchers. And if anybody had any hope that Michael King was going to return to the Padres, I mean, there's still hope because he hasn't signed anywhere else, but the percent chance of it happening, pretty slim. All right, coming up next, Kyle Glazer is going to join me. We'll talk Padres offseason. Darnay Tripp's going to join me at 5 p.m. Stay right here on Jon and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Staples. The Aztec basketball team is back at Viejas Arena tomorrow night when they take on Utah Valley. Our pregame coverage will begin right here at 6 o'clock, and John will have the tip after 7 o'clock. In NBA news, New Orleans Pelican forward Zion Williamson will miss about 3 weeks with a right adductor injury, according to ESPN. Williamson has already missed 11 games this season. Since being the number one pick in the 2019 draft, he has only played in 224 out of a possible 493 games. That's only about 45%. The Pelicans have the worst record in the NBA. Tonight at 6, we have a special edition of SDFC Midweek Live. The guys look back at the team's great first season and look ahead at what's to come in the offseason. San Diego FC Midweek Live tonight at 6 o'clock. Have an easy holiday only at Staples. Save on custom cards and custom wrapping paper, plus shipping supplies and services to get your packages delivered safely. Don't miss out on select laptops up to 45% off. Visit staples.com for details. Staples, that was easy.
It's Jon and Jim.
Let's face it, in your particular field, you're the top minds.
Your favorite pair.
Interesting job you guys
Very
had.
smart and very modern.
They are Jon and Jim.
That's all you need to know about me.
I did see net rankings came out today, and there's some crazy net rankings out there because of how few games have been played so far.
early. Yeah, I mean, you got San Diego State's at 123, which again makes sense because they lost at home to Troy and they lost 2 out of 3 in Vegas.
Oregon's like in the 190s.
Oregon's near 200, yeah. So
Give me
it's
like,
very.
give me like
I'm
a
not.
random team with a high net ranking that should not be there.
Now, live from the studios of San Diego Sports 760, it's Jon and Jim.
All right, hour 2 on Jon and Jim on a Tuesday. Kyle Glazer is going to join us right now from the On Fryer podcast, talk some Padres off season. First up, Kyle, great to have you on. Second, it's December 2nd. The Padres have already gone through a managerial change. The team has been put up for sale. We're in free agency. The winter meetings are next week, and we still don't know if AJ Preller is under contract past next season. Do you find it weird that we're at the point of the offseason we are now, and still we don't have any resolution on the future of AJ Preller?
It is certainly odd just because from the outset, the message from the Padres has been they expect AJ Preller to remain their president of baseball operations past 2020. The message shortly after the Padres were eliminated by the Cubs. That was the message again when they were getting set to introduce Craig Stammen as manager. So just from the standpoint that the Padres have publicly stated that that's what they expect, you would think a deal would get done rather quickly. Instead, a week away from the winter meeting, still no deal announced. It's certainly eyebrow raising to say the least, given their public proclamations.
And when they hired Craig Stammen, like I would think that when you're interviewing for a job, you're going to want to know the future of the guy that is, hiring you. So signing Craig Stammen to a 3-year deal, don't you think it just makes sense to just line up AJ with Craig Stammen to give him a 2-year contract extension? Or do you think that, maybe 1 year is good enough for AJ, or what do you think the years should look like for an AJ Preller contract extension?
Generally speaking, we do see GMs and the managers they hire on the same timeline. They are often tied together. That certainly would be industry standard. So with that, you look at AJ Preller right now, given he has 1 more year remaining. Yeah, a 2-year extension, potentially. I think a 2-year extension with a team option for a 3rd year. That's the kind of extension we see very, very frequently with executives and GMs. So I think that's the length we'd be looking at. At the same time, from AJ Preller's perspective, he can say, hey, I've taken this team, I have teams that have gone to the playoffs 4 times in the last 6 years, back-to-back 90-win seasons, up this franchise. They deserve a longer, very well perspective to justify that. So it's going to be interesting to see what the number of years looks like. I do think ultimately 2 years with team option for a 3rd would be the best outcome for the Padres.
Kyle Glazer from the On Fryer podcast joining me on Jon and Jim. So I talked about this today. Jeff Passan came out with the top 25 trade candidates this offseason around baseball. He had Jake Cronenworth on the list at 20th. Jake's got 5 years, $60 million remaining on the contract. The biggest thing that I took from that was that Jeff Passan said the Padres need to move money. And when you're looking at this roster right now, they don't really have many pieces that are like, oh yeah, they can move that piece, because they're all tied up to long-term contracts. And Jake is one of the only guys that has a contract that theoretically could be movable. Do you think that would be a good course of action for the Padres to look to trade Jake Cronenworth if they're trying to move money around, or if they're not trying to move money around, do you think they should explore potentially a Jake Cronenworth trade?
Well, they have to move money. The Padres project for this year right now is $201 million. Last year's payroll was $211 million. And a team that's for sale typically does not raise payroll. So even if they only match payroll, they have $10 million to play with while needing to fill minimum 2 rotations, likely 3, find a first baseman, and rebuild their bench. Realistically, they're going to need to clear up the money. And right now, Jake Cronenworth is the one.
Hey, Kyle, I'm gonna have to cut you off just real quick. We're having a little bit of phone issues with you, so we're gonna have to call you back. We'll get Kyle back on the line. I thought it was me because I'm on studio right now. I was like, am I the problem? So we'll have to get Kyle back on the line there to hear what he has to say. Yeah, someone's like, yeah, he has AOL hookup. No, okay, we're back. Kyle, I basically missed everything you said about Jake Cronenworth. So if you could repeat that, please, for me and our listeners.
Yeah, there's no question the Padres have to clear up some payroll space. Right now, their projected payroll, according to Fangraphs, for this upcoming season is $201 million. Last year's payroll was $211 million. And when a team is for sale, you really don't see them raise payroll. So realistically, even if they just match last year's payroll, they have $10 million to play with to try and sign at least 2 starters, a brand new first baseman, and to rebuild their bench entirely. Obviously, that's not enough money to do all that. So they do need to move money. And realistically, Jake Cronenworth's contract is the one that's movable. Manny Machado and Xander both have no trade clauses, and frankly, no team would take their contracts anyway. If you're not going to trade Fernando Tatis Jr., Cronenworth does have a 18 limited no trade clause. But there's enough options out there, and it's not so much about the Padres wanting to get.
And he got sniped. I was like, wait a second here. We were doing so well, and then we were doing so well, and then it just dropped. Usually, Kyle has a great phone connection. I'm going to blame us because I just am. I can't blame Kyle on this one unless he's calling us from a tunnel on the moon of Mars. Then it might be his problem. But in the meantime, we'll try to get Kyle Glazer back. He makes a good point. Like when you're going through a sale of a team, you have to look to, not spend as much money as you can. Kyle, I think we have you back here. So just to finish up your thought on Jake there, if you could.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Jake Cronenworth is the one contract that is movable right now, and the Padres have to clear up salary space in order to fill all their needs. So it's not so much about wanting to get rid of Jake Cronenworth as the Padres have kind of put themselves in this position, and now they have to make some hard choices.
Kyle Glazer joining us here on Jon and Jim. So winter meetings next week. Do you envision it to be a quiet winter meetings for the Padres, or do you think that we could see some fireworks here next week? Because, the needs for this team are pretty clear right now, and it is starting pitching. That market could move quickly. What's your guess on what we could see next week?
Realistically, the Padres, given their financial position, need to wait the market out and see who some of the cheaper options are that emerge as we get closer and closer toward next season. Similar to Nick Pivetta last year, was one of the last marquee starting pitchers on the market. The Padres were able to sign him for a deal where he only got $1 million in his first year, and then all his salaries were going to rise pretty significantly after that. Unless the Padres, again, are able to move Jake Cronenworth and his contract and maybe find ways to shave off some other, payroll amounts, whether that's Wandy Peralta or Yuki Matsui, I would expect it to be a quiet winter meeting just because the Padres don't have the financial capital to really match up with what a lot of other teams are going to be offering starting pitchers.
What'd you make of the Dylan Cease deal with the Blue Jays?
I was certainly surprised by the number, 7 years, $210 million, just because Dylan Cease did not have a good year last year, and he would be the first person to admit that. But we know teams are always looking for starters who stay healthy and starters who can miss bats. And that is something Dylan Cease does consistently. Look, the walks last year were not good. The fastball command last year was not good. The ERA was not good. The home runs allowed were not good. But the Blue Jays have a track record of taking some veterans who maybe don't have the best command and helping them become the best versions of themselves. They did that with Robbie Ray pretty successfully a few years ago. So I was surprised at the dollar amount, but I do think it's a good fit. And look, we'll see if the Blue Jays are right, that they can fix them. It's just $210 million is a pretty big bet that they can do so.
And do you think that this is good news for Michael King, and this probably completely prices out the Padres from any type of reunion with Michael King?
It's good for every starting pitcher on the market. Framber Valdez, Ranger Suarez, they are partying hard right now. And Michael King, look, it was always a fantasy that he was going to somehow come back or be available on a one-year pillow contract. Just given his performance, given the durability he showed in 2024, given his stuff, he was going to get no less than the 3-year, $71 million contract Luis Severino got from the A's. Likely the floor was going to be 3 years, $75 million, which is what Sonny Gray and Nate Eovaldi got last on their contracts. That was the floor to begin with. If he's healthy and his medicals turn out great, we could be looking at 5 years, $130, $140 million. So realistically, the Padres were always going to be priced out. At the same time, after the Dylan Cease deal, there's no question that it becomes even more likely that his price range is just going to be so far out of what the Padres can afford.
Yeah, there's a reason why Dylan Cease signed so quickly, because I'm guessing when he saw that number, he couldn't sign fast enough. So yeah, the market for starting pitchers is definitely going to be crazy this offseason. Kyle Glazer of the On Fire podcast joining us here for a couple more minutes on Jon and Jim. What are your thoughts on Mason Miller, the starter?
This is going to be very, very interesting. So the Padres, when they acquired Mason Miller last year, had the intention of having this conversation with him. He was going to be a reliever the rest of the season. Then the offseason, they were going to broach this topic with him. Mason Miller has never thrown more than 65 innings in any professional season, and he has never thrown more than 100 innings in any season period. His career high was 92 and 2/3 innings at Gardner-Webb. So it's a situation where he has a long track record of injuries. He has a long track record of not being able to hold up under a starter's workload. So it would be a big, big, big risk. At the same time, he does have starting experience. He broke into the majors as a starter. So the Padres are going to have to make the decision. Do they want him as their dominant closer? Do they value that more than potentially getting 125 innings of being a really, really good starter? And that's a best case scenario. It would be something, again, like Tyler Glasnow, where he's going to miss time. You're going to top out 125, 130 innings, but they're going to be great. They have to make the decision what's more valuable to them. But there's no question. I would put the odds of it panning out fairly low, just given he has never been able to stay healthy. And there's a long track record of injuries here under a starter's workload.
So if they're backed into a corner that say that they can't, we talked about this, going out and spending money, probably not in the cards for them because of, the ownership trying to sell the team and the payroll problems. Like if they're put into a corner here, Kyle, and they have to move a reliever to be a starter, is Mason Miller the best option, or is there another option that you think could be a better option than Mason Miller? Because they have to fill 2 to 3 spots in the rotation, and the likelihood of them going out and signing 3 starting pitchers, I don't know if that's going to be possible this offseason.
Moving Mason Miller to the rotation is the best of the bad options. So Mason Miller, again, at least has broken into the majors as a starter, has shown some durability in the 90 to 100 inning range back in college. Adrian Morhone, who I covered throughout my tenure at Baseball America, literally from the moment he signed all the way to his major league debut, and of course now, he has an even worse injury history than Mason Miller does, and he has never thrown more than 73 innings in a season, which he did last year in any capacity. Putting him as a starter would not go well. He gets hurt very, very quickly whenever he does. He's rarely ever made it to midseason. David Morgan's another option. He's a converted outfielder who's kind of got a fresh arm, which makes it intriguing. Again, he's fairly new to pitching and has never started at any level. So, look, the Padres don't have a lot of great internal options. Mason Miller would be the best of them. But again, I put the chances of success at 20%, and that's if I'm being really, really generous.
You can catch Kyle Glazer on the Friar Territory podcast on YouTube. If you haven't already, go check it out. They just brought on Marty Caswell to be a part of the Friar Territory podcast. So go check it out. Go subscribe to the channel. Watch Kyle every week talking Padres, and we'll catch up with you down the road. All right, Kyle?
Sounds good. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, Kyle Glazer there of the Friar Territory podcast. All right, coming up next, we'll react to that. Also, Darnay Tripp's going to join me at 5 p.m. And why is Giannis deleting all of his Bucks pictures off of his Instagram page? We'll talk about that coming up next. Hey guys, it's Jim from Jon Jim for the all-new Humboldt Casino Resort, the Players Place. The next level of luxury has finally arrived. Treat yourself to a stunning new stay, rooftop relaxation, indulgent spa treatments, and all the thrills of Humboldt Casino Resort, now all in one unforgettable destination. You can savor San Diego's ultimate endless dining experience at Humboldt 23, from their world-famous lobster brunch served every morning to the luxurious VIP endless dining experience each evening. Indulgent chef-curated specialties, fresh seafood, prime cuts, and decadent desserts, all with stunning panoramic views. You can unwind in style, experience pure relaxation with indulgent treatments, serene spaces, and a retreat designed to refresh your body and mind. Only at Humboldt Casino Resort, the Players Place. Join San Diego Sports 760, ESET, SeaWorld, Cable Pipe and Leak Detection, and Crowley Car Company to support Rady Children's Hospital this holiday season. On Tuesday, December 9th and Wednesday, December 10th, you will hear stories of hope and healing from Rady Children's patients and families during the iHeart Rady Children's Give-a-thon. Make a donation today by texting SPORTS to 51555 or donate at radyfoundation.org/give-a-thon. That's always two of the best days of the year. Next Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll have our Rady Children's Give-a-thon. It's, like I said, it's one of the best days of the year at iHeartRadio. The giving, I always say every year, if you are a person out there looking to donate during the holiday season, whether it be $5, $10, $20, like everybody has $5. But if you're just looking to help a family in need or to donate during the holiday season, I would implore you to listen next Tuesday and Wednesday for our Rady Children's Give-a-thon. All right, so piggybacking off of what Kyle said there with Mason Miller, not a big fan, Kyle Glazer. Not a big fan. And I'm kind of with Kyle on this one. Actually, I'm firmly with Kyle on this one. I think if you move Mason Miller to the rotation, you are asking for trouble potentially. Like, the whole thing is to get guys that can give you a ton of innings. You're losing two of those guys in Cease and King, and you lost three of them because I'll throw you Darvish in the mix as well. You got to replace those three guys. And if you expect Mason Miller to be one of those guys to replace one of those guys as far as innings go, I don't know if it's going to work out. I mean, that is a massive jump for Mason Miller. As Kyle Glazer said, like, the guy hasn't pitched more than 60-something innings his entire career. And now you're looking for him to go 120, 130 tops. And, oh, by the way, if we make the postseason, be ready for the postseason as well. Like, I don't know about that. I think keeping Mason Miller as your closer and having a back end of your bullpen of Miller, Jason Adam when he returns, Morejon, Estrada, like, that to me is one of the most dominant bullpens back end in all of baseball. Problem is, you need a bunch of innings out of your rotation because you don't want to tax those guys. I mean, those guys were taxed last year. I mean, Jason Adam, his injury was, I think, completely fluky. Like, falling off the mound, trying to field the baseball, and he tears his quad. Jeremiah Estrada, Adrian Moore, and Mason Miller, they all finished the year healthy. And they looked fantastic in the postseason. So they weren't showing any signs of being tired. But that's not going to happen every time. So you have to, keep these guys fresh while also potentially using them a lot because you don't have enough innings coming out of your rotation. I'm with Kyle on this one. Moving Mason Miller to the rotation, every single outing, I would be like, is he going to be okay? I just think that you have to go out and you have to get some starters. I don't know how AJ is going to do that, but you got to figure out a way to do it instead of moving Mason Miller into the rotation. I just think that it's a recipe for not disaster, but I don't think it's a good recipe. It's like when it's like, oh, look what I just made. And the first bite, they're like, this doesn't taste good. You can still eat it, but you don't want to. It doesn't taste good. Like, I don't feel like Mason Miller, that's, gonna work in the rotation. I just don't. The wear and tear on his arm as a starter, like, his best quality is that he's coming out of the bullpen in the ninth inning and going max effort for one inning. And his max effort is probably better than maybe anybody in baseball's max effort. Like, you can make an argument that for just one inning, if I'm asking you, I need a pitcher to pitch one inning, who are you choosing? I mean, how far until you get to Mason Miller? I feel like it's pretty quick. Like, he was unhittable last year. Like, literally unhittable. Don't you want that at the back end of your bullpen? I know that closers aren't as valuable as starters. Duh. But I do feel like Mason Miller as a closer has more value than just your average Joe closer. And we saw what he did last year. It was incredible. And you want to take him away and make him a starter and lessen that. And also, by the way, you got risk for injury. I just think that it could be a problem. I just do. And I think that if you just keep him as your closer and you have the back four with Miller, Adam, Morejon, and Suarez, that don't mess with it. And it's your fault that you can't go out and buy and get starters. And so because it's your fault, you have to create another problem. Ugh. Keep him as the closer. Don't do it, AJ. All right, coming up next. Why the hell is Giannis deleting all of his Bucks pictures off his Twitter and Instagram page? We'll talk about that coming up next on Jon and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Taco Bell. The Aztecs basketball team is back at Viejas Arena tomorrow night when they take on Utah Valley. Our pregame coverage with Fletch will start at 6 o'clock, and John will have the tip after 7 o'clock. In NBA news, Pelicans forward Zion Williamson will miss about 3 weeks with a right adductor injury, according to ESPN. Williamson has already missed 11 games this season, and since being selected number 1 overall in the 2019 draft, he's only played in about 45% of his games. The Pelicans entered today with the NBA's worst record. Tonight at 6, make sure to catch a special edition of SDFC Midweek Live. The guys look back at the team's great first season and look ahead at what's to come in the offseason. SDFC Midweek Live tonight at 6 o'clock. Taco Bell's Luxe Craving Boxes give you decadent options. $5 gets you fan favorites, $7 gets you the fancy stuff, and $9 sends you on a journey of flavor exploration. Get yours at participating stores for a limited time. Prices and participation may vary. Drinks exclude freezes. Tax extra.
All right, back here on Jon and Jim, I have the answer that, of course, everybody was waiting for on what was the first thing that John ate after his colonoscopy. Brent, do you have any guess, like a legit guess on what you think he ate?
Is it something good or something John good?
I'm not going to. Okay, I'll give you. Okay. It is something good.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I joked earlier with Forrest Gump. Did he have ice cream?
He did not have ice cream. It's a good guess, but he did not have ice cream. He had something that like normal people eat, and that would be a burrito.
Oh, okay.
I was shocked to find out that that was the first thing he ate.
It wasn't like a tofu burrito or something gross, was it?
I don't have confirmation on what kind of burrito. That's a very important part of this equation here because, you know, a burrito sounds great, but you could have like you said, like a tofu burrito. I don't even know if they make those. If they do, those people should be fired immediately and that place should be, you know, shut down. My guess is a veggie burrito, right? It's a classic John veggie burrito. I would give him brownie points if he like threw in some fish. Like if he had a shrimp burrito,
that'd be good.
I would give him props. But it's a good start. At least I know he actually ate real food. And he didn't, you know, have like the typical John snack that is like dried bananas with like walnuts and like a piece of kale. Like at least he manned up and at least he had something normal. He did say it was the greatest burrito he's ever had in his entire life. Well, I hope it was. It's like the first thing he ate in almost 30 damn hours. I don't think I've ever gone. What's the longest you've gone, Brent, without eating food? I'm trying to think. I can't, like, I don't know, man.
Well, I've done that before because I've had surgeries where you can't eat and stuff like that. So I've probably gone that long.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, yeah, same. I'm just trying to think of like, has there been a time when I wasn't having surgery and I just didn't eat for a long period of time?
I don't know. I guess when I was doing Atkins pretty heavy, there'd be some times where, you know, I'd only eat like maybe once a day because then you just kind of go through ketosis or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, if I wasn't hungry, I might just skip that one meal. So I might go, 24 hours, a little longer without eating.
Yeah, it'd be a problem for me because you know me, I'm a snacker. And I'm not like a breakfast, lunch, dinner guy. I'm like a snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack. Like that's my eating cycle. So if I couldn't eat for like 30 hours without having surgery, I'd be starving. So I get it. And also too, if I don't eat and I get really hungry and then I eat something, I get full very quick. It's like your stomach. It's like a stomach thing. It's like if you're really hungry, your stomach shrinks. I don't know. Anyway, so Giannis, for some reason, and Brent, you might know more than I do because you are a Bucks fan. But Giannis apparently deleted all of his pictures of anything relating him to the Bucks off of his Instagram page and his Twitter. And if you look at Giannis's Twitter, by the way, he deleted everything. Let me just pull this up here. So he deleted everything from all the way back to 2021. The post that he kept up, Brent, is a post on 8/23/21, a picture of Kobe Bryant and Giannis saying happy birthday, GOAT. That's the last picture he has up on his Twitter page. On his Instagram, I think it's just like family. But why are we doing that? Like, I don't get it. What's the big thing with professional athletes deciding to just wipe their social media handles of everything tying them to the franchise? Like, it's childish. It just shows immaturity. It's like, guys, what are you doing? Like, if you have a problem with the organization, go talk to the organization. Why are you like sending subliminal messages through your social media by just deleting everything related to that organization off your social media? It's as childish as it gets. It's like typical diva behavior. Is it not? What's going on here, Brent? Does he really want out this bad?
Well, it's a very passive aggressive way of saying that he's not happy. And, they're 9-13. If the season ended today, they wouldn't make the playoffs. They won't even make the stupid play-in tournament. They're 2-8 in their last 10. They're not that good, So I don't think he wants to just sit around there and just lose and have another, essentially lame duck season like last year. And it just kind of, Dame, blowing his Achilles kind of hurt everything, because I think they were going to trade him in the offseason and try and, pick up a couple more pieces to keep Giannis happy. And then he got hurt, so they couldn't trade him. And then they had to just cut him. And then they were just stuck. So I don't know. If he's still there come the All-Star break, I'm going to be surprised. Unless the team turns around and starts winning, he's out of there.
It's just, look, Giannis, he chose to stay with the Bucks. Did he not? Yeah. He had a chance to get out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you chose to stay there. I know that the Dame injury derailed things, but you chose to stay. You signed the contract. You can't turn about face and then act like a diva and demand a trade when you had an opportunity to leave. And that wasn't long ago either.
It was a couple years ago. I think it's one of those things where when he signed, the organization kind of made promises that they were going to do, X amount of things to make sure that they were still going to compete for a title. And now in Giannis's mind, they're not doing what they said they were going to do to, at least contend in the East. And, we've talked about it all year. The East is so weak this year because of, the injuries to Boston and all this other stuff, to where this was a year they could, they wouldn't, they'd get crushed in the finals, but this is a year they could have snuck in there maybe because of how weak the East is. But they're still sitting there. Like I said, there'd be 11th place. They're a game back of the Bulls for the 10th playoff spot. And that's for the play-in tournament. That's not even, the actual playoffs.
Yeah, the East is without looking. If you're out there in your car or watching on YouTube at home or at work still, how many people, Brent, you think could guess who is in first place in the Eastern Conference right now?
Nobody will, unless they pay attention to the NBA, because it's nobody you would have guessed.
Yeah, no one would ever guess the Detroit Pistons, who are 17-4. Like, what? Like, Cade Cunningham's like the next coming of like Steph Curry and LeBron James and Kobe Bryant mixed into one. The Detroit Pistons are in first place in the Eastern Conference. The Miami Heat are the 3 seed right now. Your top seeds in the Eastern Conference. Detroit, what? New York, where you expect them to be. Miami, Toronto, Orlando, Cleveland. Boston's the 8 seed. Huh? Indiana's 4-17. Milwaukee's 9-13. Like, what? At least in the Western Conference, OKC 20-1. Lakers, Rockets, Nuggets, Spurs, Timberwolves, Suns, Warriors, Memphis, Portland. Everybody that you expected in the Western Conference is there. Eastern Conference, Detroit. So anyway, this isn't just a Giannis thing. This is like an all professional athlete thing. When there's a problem, the first thing they do is they go wipe everything off their social media like that's going to change anything. It's typical childish diva behavior. And I love Giannis. He's an amazing player. I wish he was on the Warriors. With Steph, come on. But like this, give me a break, dude. Give me a break.
And it's one of those things too where it'd be different if like he hated the Bucks organization to where like they just had some massive like fallout to where like he just couldn't stand them anymore. To where it's like, okay, I don't want anything to do with these guys. I'm gonna wipe, any existence that off my social media that I was even on this team. But as far as I know, he doesn't have like any hard feelings. He's just, he just knows that they're not going to win. So he doesn't want to stay there anymore.
All right. Coming up next, one of the pitchers that was linked to the Padres this offseason, he is signed. Has he signed with the Padres or is he signed elsewhere? We'll tell you who that pitcher is coming up next right here on Jon and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
All right, guys, it is Schaefer, and there is no better time than now to get down to your local Toyota dealer. New vehicles arriving daily, including the most popular cars, trucks, and SUVs, whatever kind of vehicle you're looking for.
All right, back here on Jon and Jim. So a couple weeks ago, if you remember, Jeff Passan released an article about the top free agent targets this offseason for teams. And one of the players that was mentioned that was linked to the Padres was Dong Award winner of the KBO League, Cody Pont.
That's like being nominated for an Oscar. You're going to be Oscar nominated actor for the rest of your life. He's going to be Dong Award winner Cody Pont for the rest of his life.
Dong Award winner Cody Pont went 17-1 with a 1.89 ERA. He struck out 252 batters in 180 2/3 innings. So those numbers are nice. And he was linked to the Padres through Jeff Passan. Well, the Dong Award winner has officially signed somewhere, Brent. And it is not with your San Diego Padres.
Aww.
He signed a 3-year, $30 million contract with the Toronto Blue Jays, who decided that they're going to just spend all the money this offseason. Yeah, a little too pricey there for the Padres. I don't know what the hell they're going to do if this is the type of money that starting pitchers are getting on the open market right now. Look, those are amazing numbers in the KBO. Amazing numbers. $30 million for 3 years for a guy that, let's see here, last time he pitched in the big leagues, Brent, I want to say his numbers were not good. So Cody Pont.
Probably not. That's why he was in Japan or Korea.
So let's see here. Yeah. His career in the big leagues. What do we got here? He's 1-7 with the 5.86 ERA in 20 games and 55 1/3 innings pitched in the majors. And he just got a 3-year, $30 million contract. I don't know how the Padres are going to fill out the rest of this rotation. Like, I just don't know. Dylan Cease signing for what he signed for has inflated the entire market. And even if Dylan Cease didn't sign what he signed for, I still don't think it would have really mattered from the Padres' point of view, because they weren't going to go out and they weren't going to sign guys to these long-term contracts, or at least, $10, $12, $15 million a year. Who knows? Maybe they do have other plans. Maybe they are going to go spend some money. Maybe they are going to, sign a guy to a 3-year, $30 million deal. I don't know. 3 for 30 isn't bad. I'm just saying Cody Pont, who has a career 5.86 ERA in the majors, got a 3-year, $30 million deal from the Toronto Blue Jays. It will be interesting. Matt Waldron, come on down. Good luck. It just shows you that this market for starting pitchers, it's going to be crazy. And if I'm Michael King, I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, hell yes. Oh, hell yes. He is going to get paid this offseason. Paid. And what did we talk about last offseason? The priorities for the Padres. Last offseason, should have been extending Michael King. Everyone's like, oh, give Jackson Merrill a contract extension. I remember that was a talking point. What's more important, a Jackson Merrill contract extension or signing Michael King long-term? Not even a question. It was Michael King. They locked up Jackson Merrill. Didn't have to. He's under team control for the next 6 years. Could have used that money to potentially sign Michael King to a long-term contract. Yeah. Could Jackson Merrill have priced himself out from the Padres ever re-signing him if he continued the upward trajectory of his career after his rookie season? Probably. But at least you have him for 6 more seasons. I would love to have Michael King for at least 3 more seasons. But you gave the money to Jackson Merrill. Not saying it was wrong. I'm just saying could have allocated that money a little better. Like you didn't have to sign Jay Cronenworth. It is a team-friendly deal in the end, and it will be a good deal, no doubt. But you didn't have to sign him. Could have signed Michael King. And now Michael King's going to go on the open market, and he's going to get upwards of 130, 140, 150 million. Potentially. I just don't know where they're going to go for starting pitching if they're not going to spend money this offseason. And I hope I'm wrong. I say that every time I talk about them spending money. Hope I'm wrong. But like everything that we've heard is it's going to be a quiet winter meetings for the Padres, which would suck. I mean, this used to be AJ Preller's time to shine. Winter meetings, this is his World Series. AJ Preller won like 3 straight off-season World Series championships. He took home the title of off-season championship. Hang the banners. Now it's like AJ Preller sitting in a corner, can't do anything, hands tied behind his back because you got this ownership group trying to sell the team, and they're not going to pump money into the team on the field. Running an organization while you're financially, I guess, strapped. It's a tough way to operate. And it sucks because these owners are getting tons and tons of money through revenue. But yet, putting it and investing it to the on-field product, nah, we're good. We want to make money. How about winning? Don't you want to win? So we'll see. Cody Pont's off the board. 3 years, $30 million to the Toronto Blue Jays. All right, coming up next, we'll have the wrap. Also, something we talked about before the NFL season that I was worried about. It's happening, and we were right on the nose about it. Also, Darnay Tripp is going to join me at 5 p.m. Stay with us right here. Hour number 3 coming up next on Jon and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
The support is sponsored by Anderson Plumbing, Heating, and Air. The Aztecs are back at Viejas Arena tomorrow night to take on Utah Valley. Our pregame coverage with Fletch will start at 6 o'clock, and John will have the tip a little after 7 o'clock. In NBA news, New Orleans Pelicans forward Zion Williamson will miss about 3 weeks with a right abductor injury, according to ESPN. Williams has already missed 11 games this season since being selected number 1 in the 2019 draft. He has only played in 224 out of a possible 493 games. The Pelicans do have the NBA's worst record. Tonight at 6 o'clock, we have a special edition of SDFC Midweek Live. The guys look back at the team's great first season and look ahead at what's to come in the offseason. San Diego FC Midweek Live tonight at 6 o'clock. Choosing the right home service company isn't just about fixing what's broken. It's about trusting who's in your home. That's why homeowners count on Anderson for friendly professional service that keeps everything running right. Visit AndersonPHA.com.
It's Jon and Jim.
Let's face it, in your particular field, you're the top minds.
Your favorite pair.
Interesting job you guys
Very
had.
smart and very modern.
They are Jon and Jim.
That's all you need to know about me.
I did see net rankings came out today, and there's some crazy net rankings out there because of how few games have been played so far.
Early, yeah. I mean, you got San Diego State's at 123, which again makes sense because they lost at home to Troy and they lost 2 out of 3 in Vegas.
Oregon's like in the 190s.
Oregon's near 200, yeah. So
Maybe
it's
like
I'm
a
not.
random team with a high net ranking that should not be there.
Now live from the studios of San Diego Sports 760, it's Jon and Jim.
All right, hour 3 of Jon and Jim on a Tuesday. John recovering from his colonoscopy. He'll be back on tomorrow's show. We have Aztec basketball on tomorrow night as well. Tonight, 6 p.m., SDFC Midweek Live. The guys recap SDFC's magical season all the way to the Western Conference Finals. So make sure to tune in starting at 6 p.m. tonight. Darnay Tripp's going to join me in an hour from now. We'll also talk about what the red zone is doing and how we 100% called this, Brent. 100% called this. So we'll talk about that later this hour. Also, we have tickets to give away this hour, SeaWorld tickets. So make sure you're listening for your chance to win those. But right now, Brent, let's get to it.
It's time for the wrap. Presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Do you consider Zion a bust?
So what was the number you have in your updates of how many games he's played and missed?
Let me bring it back up here. He has only played in 224 out of a possible 493. Only 45% of his games.
The thing is, like, when he's healthy and out there, he's really good. But your best ability is your availability, and he's not out there. I wouldn't call him a bust because I think a bust would be like considered somebody who can't play. Like Markelle Fultz, right? Number 1 overall pick. I think his name was Michael Bennett for the Cavs. Like those are busts. Sam Bowie, those are busts. At least Zion, when he's out there, is like he's an all-star player. He's just never out there because he's always hurt.
But that's one of those things like, you know, like Greg Oden. You know, Greg Oden's a bust because he was never out there because he was hurt all the time.
But when he was out there, he wasn't like an all-star level player like Zion is.
He was pretty good. It's just he didn't play enough. You know, look at it this way. Zion is like Cal Ripken Jr. compared to Greg Oden with the amount of games that he played. You know, so I don't know. I think he is, but that's just one of those things where I remember when he got drafted, me and Hartman called this. We're like, he is going to be a bust. We thought, you know, I joked that he was going to be the next Oliver Miller because I thought he was going to eat himself out of the league just with his weight and everything else. So I if he can't play, you know, it's like you said, yes, when he's can actually play, he does well, but he's never on the floor. You know, 45% of his games he's missed in his, you know, career. That's not very good.
Like, these are his career numbers. 24.6 points per game, almost 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. That's really good. Shoots 58% from the floor. Like, I mean,
I think play.
I know. And he is a 2-time All-Star. He's averaged over 22 points per game every year in the league. I can't say he's a bust because he's still really good. I just think that we'll never get to see the full potential of Zion because he's always hurt.
That's true.
Next question, Brad.
Is Drake May a top 5 quarterback in the NFL?
Remember asking Greg Camarillo this, and he kind of laughed at me. But when you look at the landscape of the NFL right now, Brent, guess who leads the league in passing yards? That would be Drake May. Guess who leads the league in quarterback rating? That would be Drake May. Guess who's top 5 in QBR in the NFL? That would be Drake May. He is having a phenomenal season in year number 2. He's thrown 23 touchdown passes, 6 interceptions. Yeah, he's a top 5 quarterback this year. Do I think he's a top 5 quarterback overall? That's yet to be seen. Continue to do it. But like this year alone, he's absolutely and should be in the MVP conversation. He is having an amazing season. I don't know if he'll win the MVP, but he has to be in the MVP conversation. Would you agree with that, Brent?
Yeah. The Patriots, nobody thought that they were going to, are they the first team in the NFL to 11 or just the first in the AFC to 11 wins?
The first team in the NFL to 11.
Okay. Yeah. Nobody when the season started would have guessed that they would have even won 11 games, period, let alone be the first team in the NFL to 11 games. So I think he should definitely be in the conversation. MVP is going to be kind of a weird, contender year, for lack of a better word, because, the typical, Patrick Mahomes isn't going to be in there this year. And, I think for the most part, it's going to be Josh Allen's to lose, just the way they're just,
well, they play the Bills. They play the Bills next week, so that's a huge game. If the Patriots and Drake May beat the Bills again, I mean, he's got to be up there. If the Rams get the number 1 seed in the NFC, I think it goes to Stafford. But if they don't, and Drake May beats the Bills again, goes on to take the Patriots to the number 1 seed, I feel like he might be the front runner. Now, I will say, who the Patriots have beaten this year, it's not really a list of who's. I mean, you got, listen to the teams they've beaten this year, Brent. The Raiders, the Dolphins, the Panthers, the Saints, the Titans, the Browns, the Falcons, the Jets, the Bengals without Joe Burrow, and the Giants last night. Those are the bad teams they've beaten. That's a lot of bad teams.
Well, it's kind of like what Will Brinson said yesterday, to where they're kind of the Bears of the AFC, to where, they haven't played a lot of good teams, but, just like the Bears had their first test last weekend when they played the Eagles, I think the Pats are going to have their first test now when they get to play Buffalo.
And it's kind of what, you have a last place schedule, take advantage of it. The Niners, do I think they're a 9-4 team? Debatable. I mean, because of all the injuries they've had on their defense, but they're taking advantage of their bad schedule, and they're better than all these teams. I also do think if they play, they've beaten the Rams this year on the road. We'll see how they do in their final 3 games against the Colts, the Bears, and the Seahawks. They beat the Seahawks on the road. When you get a last place schedule, you got to take advantage of it. And the Patriots and the Niners are both taking advantage of their last place schedules. All right, next question, Brad.
How much will Michael King sign for this offseason?
I'm going to go. Again, I'm not good at math. So I'll go 5 for 130. How about that? 26 a year. 5 for 130. 26 million per year. I think that sounds about right. Do I think the Padres potentially could have gotten him for less than that if they tried to sign him last offseason instead of, pussyfooting around and going through the whole arbitration thing with him and having to go to arbitration and, that whole situation was a joke. 5 for 130. I think that sounds about right for Michael King. And good for him. He's going to get a big time contract. And the Padres, they missed out. I mean, I don't know what to say other than the fact that I'm sure a lot of people in that building would love to have Michael King stay. I think if you were to ask people in that building, who would you rather have stay, Michael King or Dylan Cease? I think a lot of people would have chosen Michael King over Dylan Cease. Maybe everybody would have chosen Michael King over Dylan Cease. And they have no one to blame but themselves. From my knowledge, there was no talk of any contract extension. I remember asking Michael King before last season at FanFest if the Padres reached out to him or contacted him about a possible contract extension, and there was a very quick nope. So, look, he's going to go somewhere else. You hope it's as far away from you as possible, and he's going to get paid a lot of money. And the Padres are going to be looking around at the rotation with a lot of holes. So, I'll say 5 for 130. All right, Brent, final question.
Where would be the best place for Giannis if the Bucks trade him?
Of course, it would be the Golden State Warriors. I mean, look, if we're being objective here, though, Brent, that is a great landing spot for Giannis, right? Like him and Steph with Draymond and Jimmy, they wouldn't have anybody else on the team because they would trade everyone away for him. I feel like that's the spot.
I would almost feel like they would have to include Draymond in that trade. I don't think they get to keep everyone and get Giannis. I don't think they have enough. I could see maybe San Antonio.
San Antonio's a really good spot with him and Wemby. But Wemby's also hurt too. He's turned into like a little mini Zion. Like, what the hell, dude?
I could also see the Knicks because I could see them getting rid of Cat and just trading Cat to the. I don't want Cat on the Bucks, but that's what would end up happening most likely. And then he would just replace Cat on the Knicks. I think him and Brunson.
I would have everybody available on the Knicks other than Brunson. Hey, who do you want? I'll trade you 4 players. I don't care. I'll trade you Cat. I'll trade you whoever for Giannis. As long as we keep Brunson. That's it. Brunson and Giannis in New York. That would be incredible.
And typically he's killed it at MSG. So
he's been great everywhere.
That could be one of those things, but
yeah, I mean, you don't want Jonathan Kuminga and Brandon Podziemski, Brent, in 7
really.
first-round picks.
That's a dude with curly hair, right? That shoots threes.
Yeah, he sucks.
Yeah, I know. That's why I only know him by the curly hair dude that shoots threes.
Yeah, he's completely overrated. And the fact that the Warriors declined to trade him this past offseason for Lauri Markkanen tells you all you need to know about that stupid organization. They're going to waste Steph's final years because they thought they had something they didn't with some of these young guys. Anyway, that's my Warriors rant from the day. Nobody cares. All right, coming up next. The NFL Red Zone did exactly what we predicted. What did they do? We'll tell you coming up next. Also, we got SeaWorld tickets for you later this hour. And then Darnay Tripp, our good friend Darnay Tripp, is going to join us at 5 p.m. Stay with us right here on Jon and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, San Diego Sports 760 congratulates all our $5,000 winners in iHeartRadio's Thank a Teacher powered by Donors Choose. There's still time for you to nominate a public school teacher making a difference, and maybe they'll be one of our next winners of $5,000 winners to make over their classroom. Help us say thank you to the educators shaping our future. Nominate your favorite teacher now at iHeartRadio.com/teachers. So before the NFL season started, one of the biggest talking points, I feel like, that had nothing to do with football was about the NFL Red Zone. Because ESPN bought the rights to NFL Red Zone. They claimed nothing was going to change. And then in the last second, they slipped in, oh, by the way, we're also going to have like 1 minute of ads. And everyone lost their mind. And it was like, oh, what? You know, what people wanted was they just wanted uninterrupted football from 10 a.m. to like 4:30 on the Red Zone channel. Uninterrupted. No commercials. The whole point of the Red Zone was to eliminate commercials. Was for when a game went to a commercial, in real time, Red Zone would go to the other game. So you would have nonstop action. And then we would get the quad boxes. And then we would get the octo boxes. And then we get the double box. And then we would go to like a 4th and 1 at the goal line. And then when potentially every game was in commercial break, they would do like a little bit of a whip around, giving you a recap of everything that's going on, update on scores, update on situations and scenarios, right? And before the season, they announced, by the way, we're going to slip in like 1 minute of commercials. And what did we say, Brent? We said, yeah, it's not going to be just 1 minute. They're going to add on and add on. If you give someone an inch, they're going to take a mile. And that's exactly what has happened with the NFL Red Zone.
Dude, we knew this was going to happen because this is the NFL. They decided, hey, we're not even going to take commercial breaks sometimes. We're going to have a 30-second commercial inside of the game that we, in our minds, doesn't count as a commercial because the game's still on in the corner. Of course they were going to do this. Everyone knew that they were going to do this. It's too good to be true to think that they were just going to go with no commercials. And once they open up the dam of, we'll just have like, one commercial, and then all of a sudden, more sponsors going to be like, well, what if we add a couple more zeros to this check and you have 2 commercials? And they're like, yeah, sure. And then next thing, by this time next year, it's going to be no different than just watching a game on Fox or something.
They said before the season that they would only be airing 4 15-second ads throughout the Red Zone telecast on week 1. So from 10 a.m. to like 4:30, you got, 4 15-second ads sprinkled throughout. Okay, people can deal with that. You know how many ads they had this past weekend, Brent, on the Red Zone? Take a guess.
25.
Little high, but there will soon be a day when there's 25 commercials on the Red Zone.
But in how many hours?
The what?
But in how many hours, though?
Same amount. So from 10 a.m. to whatever, 4:30, right? Because they had the 10 a.m. games and then they had the 1 o'clock games. Now, I will say that because of the Thanksgiving Day games and because of Black Friday, there weren't as many games on Sunday as there normally is. And usually at this time of the year, you have games on Christmas and Saturdays, and right. So the Red Zone isn't like fully loaded with a full slate of NFL games. But still, this just shows that the NFL is going to be given an inch and they're going to take a country mile. They aired 16 commercials on the Red Zone channel this past weekend, totaling almost 9 minutes of time. Now, again, in the grand scheme of things, from 10 a.m. to 4:30, 9 minutes of commercials in there. If you never told me that the red zone was commercial free football, no one would complain. But the fact that was the whole bread and butter of the red zone, commercial free football. And then the second that ESPN grabs it, what happens? We're in week what? What week is this, Brent? 12, 13, 14?
I think this is 14 coming up.
We're in week 14, and now they're airing damn near 10 minutes of commercials when they said at the start of the year it will only be 4 15-second commercials. They are playing you. Like you said, Brent, in a couple years, hell, it might even be by the end of this season, there will be probably 20 minutes worth of commercials on the red zone.
Who do you put more of this on? ESPN or the NFL?
Oh, the NFL. 100%. The NFL. Because the NFL, like, they produce this product. ESPN doesn't produce it. The NFL does. So the NFL has say in, like, the commercials that are being aired on the red zone. Now, I will say, I have lost interest in the red zone. It didn't, the commercials have nothing to do with it. But, like, I don't know about you, Brent, but I'm not a big red zone guy anymore. Like, I watch the Niners, and maybe this is the reason why, because we watch the Niners in my house, and then when the Niners aren't on, we watch the Eagles. So that takes up all my potential red zone viewing time. But even if the Niners aren't on or the Eagles aren't on, like, I'm not saying to myself, I have to watch red zone. I don't know, man. They increased ads from 4 15-second ads in week 1 to, like, almost 10 minutes. That's insane. And the fact that they're charging people an arm and leg for the red zone channel too, and the whole point was to watch commercial free football, and now it's like, why am I paying $300 for the red zone and it's going to be turned into, like, a commercial sponsor fest? Like, nah. I like this comment here on Twitter that the aura of the red zone is gone. I kind of agree with that. Like, it doesn't feel the same. I can tell you this, I don't think I'll ever purchase the red zone channel ever again. You know, this past season, I did a little bit of a workaround to get NFL Sunday Ticket because I had an NFL Sunday Ticket. And to renew NFL Sunday Ticket, you know how much it was, Brent? Like $700. It was ridiculous. And they were promoting on television, oh, new users get NFL Red Zone for like $30 a month. So what you do is you create a new YouTube account to sign up for the red zone on that account. So you're then, quote unquote, a new user. They are just, like, taking everybody's money and laughing because we're all suckers and we're all going to pay for it. I'm sure one day they'll find a way to, you know, get all of the illegal streams taken down as well. Because that's how you watch, right, Brent?
That's how I used to watch. They've done a really good job of taking them down this year.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. I didn't know that.
For like the first 4 weeks of the season, I had to go to a different place every week because the place I went to previously didn't exist anymore.
Dude, the NFL, they have absolutely no shame when it comes to money. No shame whatsoever. If you're telling them, hey, can we air you know, something horrific, how much money does it cost? And if they give you a number that the NFL likes, they'll probably air it on television. They have no shame when it comes to money. All they care about is the bottom dollar. All they care about is how much money they're going to make in a season. That's it. They don't care about player safety. They don't care about the consumer. All they care about is how much money are we making this year? Oh, cool. That's great. Do it. I don't care. It's a joke. I'm glad that the NFL Red Zone has passed me by. I'm done. I'm done with it. All right, coming up next, we got some SeaWorld tickets to give away, so stay tuned for that. Also, Darnay Tripp, our good friend Darnay, is going to join us at 5 p.m. Also, we're going to get back into Jake Cronenworth, and should the Padres trade him this offseason. All that coming up next right here on Jon and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Staples. The Aztec basketball team is back at Viejas tomorrow night when they take on Utah Valley. Our pregame coverage will start at 6 o'clock, and John will have the tip-off a little after 7. In NBA news, Pelicans forward Zion Williamson will miss about 3 weeks of time due to a right abductor injury, according to ESPN. Williamson, who already missed 11 games earlier this season, he has, since being the number one pick in the 2019 draft, he's only played in 224 out of a possible 493 games. That's only about 45%. The Pelicans entered today with the worst record in the NBA. Tonight at 6 o'clock, we got a special edition of SDFC Midweek Live. The guys look back at the team's great first inaugural season and look ahead to what's to come in the offseason. SDF Midweek Live tonight at 6 o'clock. Have an easy holiday only at Staples. Save on top tech and gaming gifts, plus shipping supplies and services for safe delivery. Don't miss 60% off custom cards, photo gifts, wrapping paper, and more. Visit staples.com/print for details. Staples, that was easy.
All right, back here on Jon and Jim. Darnay is going to join me at the top of next hour. So getting back to Jay Cronenworth, started the show with this today. Jeff Passan giving a list of top 25 trade candidates in baseball. I didn't even go over who he has on his list. It's a pretty intriguing list. If I were to give you a guess, Brent, the number one player on his list that who could be traded this offseason. Do you have a guess?
Is it a pitcher or a position player?
It is a pitcher. Now, these players are all, obviously, they're not free agents. They're on their rosters or whatever, but like.
Tariq Skubal.
Ding, 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 ding. You are correct.
Awesome. I didn't even see the list.
Tariq Skubal, the number one player on Jeff Passan's top 25 players who could be traded this offseason. He gives it a 10% chance of happening.
Gee, that big?
Yeah, I mean, if the Tigers traded Tariq Skubal, Tigers fans would not be happy.
Dude, especially a year after they made the playoffs.
Oh. And Tariq Skubal is like going out there. Literally, I mean, he's like the Mason Miller. He's like the Mason Miller of starters. Like, he's unhittable. Number 2 on the list, Ketel Marte. He gives it a 40% chance of happening. There's been a lot of buzz around Ketel Marte being traded this offseason. Good. Get him out of the NL West. He kills the Padres. Get him out. Number 3, you got Freddie Peralta of the Milwaukee Brewers. He has that about a 25% chance happening. Hunter Green, he has on the list. Byron Buxton, Joe Ryan, Jarren Duran, Pablo Lopez, old friend Mackenzie Gore, old friend CJ Abrams. That'd be ironic. Stephen Kwan, Brendan Donovan. These are some pretty big names. Wilyer Abreu from the Red Sox. Say that 3 times fast. Yandy Diaz, Wilson Contreras, if he waives his no trade clause, Brandon Lowe, Edward Cabrera, Mitch Keller, Luis Robert Jr., Sandy Alcantara. Like, these are some big time names that Jeff Passan's throwing out there that could be traded this offseason. But back to Jay Cronenworth, he gives it a 20% chance of happening. I think it was a 20% chance. Yeah, 25% chance. My bad. 25% chance of happening. The thing with Jake is, look, he has value, but if you need to shed money, which is what Jeff Passan is essentially saying here, is they need to move money. Name me another player on this roster that you could move. I'll wait. You're not trading Toddy. You're not trading Manny. You're not trading Xander because you can't. You're not trading Jackson. You're not trading Pivetta. You're not trading Musgrove. You can't trade Darvish. Those are the only players on your roster that have big time money, and throw in Jake Cronenworth. So, like, how are you going to move money? And I saw in the chat today on YouTube, why are you trashing on Jake? I'm just telling it like it is. Sorry, you can't handle it. Jake is a average baseball player. You can find another Jake Cronenworth. I gave you one. Ryan O'Hearn. There you go. And he's probably better. Like, the thing with Jake is you like him because he's giving you moments and he has a good nickname. Take away the nickname, take away the moment he had in 2022. Actually, keep the moment, but take away the nickname. He's a career 240 hitter, a 740 OPS guy. He'll give you 10 to 15 homers. He's versatile. Don't get me wrong. That's valuable. He can play multiple positions. Good clubhouse guy. But at the end of the day, is it about winning or is it about cute nicknames? It's about winning. And trading away Jake Cronenworth to free up some money to go out and get starting pitching, like, that's more important. That's infinitely more important than keeping Jake around and trying to get starting pitching on top of that. You know, if you have to go out and trade one player that has some money attached to him that theoretically you could trade away and it wouldn't be like you have to eat a bunch of money, it would be Jake Cronenworth. If you were to trade away Fernando Tatis Jr., one, not happening. But two, you'd have to waive his no trade clause, and you'd probably have to eat some of that money. Same thing with Manny. Same thing with Xander. You have to probably eat all of that money with Xander. You're not trading away Jackson Merrill. That would be idiotic. You're not trading away Pivetta or Musgrove. Like, you got to look at your options here and see what you got. And what you got is not a lot. Not a lot to work with. Could you package Jake with some minor league players and potentially get, you know, a starter in return somewhere? Potentially. But the fact that it's even come to this talking point, like, tells you everything you need to know about where the Padres are at financially and where they're at as an organization. Like, we're not talking about trading Jake Cronenworth to get better players. You're talking about trading Jake Cronenworth to free up money. Now, the money would essentially go out and get the better players, but that's no guarantee. And if you're just trading away Jake Cronenworth to free up money because all the other contracts you have on the team are inflated and you got to pay those guys, you got to make that work, that's a huge problem. So at the end of the day, I look at what Jeff Passan says about how they need to move money. I take him I take him what he's at his word. Like, I believe Jeff Passan. I'm not going to sit here and say that Jeff Passan's full of smoke. And if you're looking to move money, you don't have many options. Your option is like Jake Cronenworth and what? You're not trading Fernando. And if they do trade Fernando, then they look awful and people will riot and pitchforks will go up. And guess what everybody will say about the organization if they ended up trading Fernando Tatis Jr. this offseason? Well, here comes the fire sale. And it would be a disaster. An absolute disaster. In the midst of a sale, you trade one of your best players, that would be a disaster. So that's not going to happen. Like 0.0% chance of happening. So we'll see. But I think if there's going to be any moves next week, trading Jake Cronenworth is probably the move. All right, coming up next. Actually, let's do that right now, Brent. Right now, caller number 7. If you want tickets to SeaWorld, caller number 7 A family 4-pack of tickets to SeaWorld San Diego's Christmas celebration. Twinkling Lights meet Ocean Delights November 14th through January 4th. You can experience the magic of the season and meet incredible animals like belugas, penguins, and sea otters. Plus, check out a winter wonderland with 1,000,000 dazzling lights and the all-new Clyde and Seymour's Christmas. Tickets and more information at SeaWorldSanDiego.com. A family of 4-pack up for grabs right now. Caller number 7. Call in right now. You are the winner of some SeaWorld tickets. Caller number 7, 877-767-4760. All right, more Jon and Jim coming up next. RNA Tripp's going to join me at 5. Stay with us right here on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, back here on Jon and Jim. So it looks like the college football playoff selection committee, they didn't realize that they didn't penalize Ole Miss for Lane Kiffin's departure because they actually moved up in the rankings here. Let me just pull this up here.
Apparently, they think they're better off.
Oh yeah. Well, Ole Miss is allowing Charlie Wise to be the offensive coordinator for their playoff run. So they don't want Lane Kiffin around, but hey, Charlie, you're good. So I'm just trying to pull up I don't have a TV in the studio here.
Oh, I have them.
Yeah, what are they, Brent? Because I can't find it right now.
You want to go top to bottom, or which?
Just give me the top 12.
Top 12. Ohio State is still number 1. Indiana is 2. Georgia is 3. Texas Tech is 4. Oregon is 5. Then Ole Miss is 6. Texas A&M is 7. Oklahoma is 8. Bama is 9, and then the Irish is 10. In terms of like the non-power 5, the highest rated one, Tulane, is sitting at 20. North Texas is at 24, and James Madison is at 25.
Any surprises there? I would say no, because we have to go through championship weekend here.
Well, Ohio State and Indiana play each other.
Yeah. So, and Georgia and Alabama play each other. Ole Miss is in. We'll see about the group of 5 team. You didn't say Texas, right?
I did not. Texas is 13th.
Did you hear you hear what their head coach said the other day?
No.
After they won their game, it's like he's like, yeah, it'd be a travesty if we're not in the college football playoff. Give me a break, dude. You don't have the resume to be in the college football playoff. But yeah, so we got Oklahoma, Alabama, Ohio State. Yeah, there's really nothing here that's out of the norm. I don't think it's going to be interesting to see what happens after the Ohio State Indiana game, where the loser falls. I think if Ohio State loses, my guess is they'll still be a top 4 team. Right? Right? If Indiana loses, they might fall out of the top 4.
It depends if they treat it like they used to always do the SEC. Remember how the SEC, it'd be Alabama and like Georgia in the SEC championship game. And then all the SEC honks on ESPN would be like, oh, I want to see that again, next week for the national. So it depends. If they treat it like they used to treat the SEC, they will barely move. Say Indiana loses, maybe they'll drop to like 6th or 7th, but I don't think they'll take that big of a hit.
Yeah, Texas, they got blown out by Georgia. They lost to Florida. No, they lost to Ohio State.
And they struggled against like a bunch of crap teams for the most part. What's his name? Manning he's not a bust, but he's got to be like the most overrated player in college football this year with all the hype that was surrounding him going to Texas. And now he's just kind of been like blah.
Like they barely beat Kentucky. They barely beat Mississippi State. They had trouble with UTEP. They should not be allowed in the college football playoff. Sorry. I know they beat Texas A&M, but no, you're not in. Sorry, not happening. So last night, Brent, Giants and Patriots. Before the game, let me just pull this up here. Before the game, there was this funny tweet that was going around. Did you see this?
No.
From Wesley Steinberg. Now, it's a parody account. Let me just say that first. But before the game, Wesley Steinberg tweeted, Giants defensive end Abdul Carter will miss the first drive tonight for disciplinary reasons after getting caught watching porn in a team's meeting when his headphones were disconnected.
Yeah, I saw that.
It had 25 million views. What happened last night in the Giants' first defensive drive of the game? Abdul Carter was on the sideline. And there was no word as to why he was on the sideline, other than this tweet that was tweeted out a couple hours before the game last night. So everyone's running with it. And this thing, I mean, it just blew up to the point where you had gambling accounts, Brent, tweeting out this Underdog NFL gambling account. That's 338,000 followers on Twitter. Tweeted status alert, Abdul Carter, parentheses, pornography, has entered Monday's game.
Well, this is like at least 2 out of the last 3 weeks, because is a couple weeks ago he didn't get to start the game because he allegedly fell asleep during a team meeting, and so he's just having a bunch of, I guess you call it issues. He's having a bunch of issues the last like month or so.
Yeah, it's a problem. I think he tweeted out something last night and he might have deleted it. But like, this guy's late to meetings. He's been benched twice now this year. Talk about a potential bust. Without looking, Brent, do you know how many sacks he has on the season?
3.
1.5. And guess when he got his first sack?
Probably last night.
Last night. Up until last night, the dude had a half a sack on the year. The number 3, I believe, overall pick in the NFL draft this past season. And you got 1.5 sacks on the year, and you're missing team meetings, and you're getting benched, or at least not benched, but like you're missing defensive snaps for disciplinary reasons because you're late to meetings as a rookie. Dude, that is troubling. I don't care about the Giants, and I'm sure no one in our audience cares about the Giants, but it's still, like, you can't be serious. If you're going to be like, if you're going to be late to meetings, okay, you better have like 9.5 sacks on the year already. You had a half sack going into last night's game, and you're missing meetings. Talk about a complete idiot. Just an absolute moron. But I thought that was hilarious last night. I wanted it to be true. I knew it wasn't, but I wanted it to be true.
Yeah, the Giants are having quite the year, between that last night and them, doing their best to kill, Jackson Dart.
Dude, I know. Jackson Dart. He didn't play awful, but still, he almost died last night.
But I'll give the refs credit. They didn't panic and throw the flag because he was in bounds and it was a legal hit. But they tend these days, when it comes to like targeting and stuff like that, they tend to just assume that that's what it was sometimes when it wasn't, just because they don't want to not call it and then get in trouble. But, I have a lot more respect for Jackson Dart after his response when they asked him post game about the hit. And he's like, look, it's not soccer. And he goes, it's going to happen. He goes, I don't have a problem with it. He could have went in there and bitched and moaned about it post game and everything else, but he took the shot like a man and he said, it is what it is.
Yeah, Shedeur Sanders. It reminded me of Shedeur Sanders. We can talk about that later next hour. One of his responses post game after the Niners loss was just like, "Dude, you do not get it, bro. You do not get it." All right, coming up next, Darnay Tripp. Our good friend Darnay is going to join me. Stay with us right here on Jon and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
The support is sponsored by Audible. The Aztec basketball team is back at Viejas tomorrow night when they take on Utah Valley. Our pregame coverage with Fletch will start at 6 o'clock. John will have the tip a little after 7. In NBA news, Pelicans forward Zion Williamson will miss about 3 weeks with a right abductor injury, according to ESPN. Since being selected with the number 1 overall pick in the 2019 draft, Williamson has only played in 224 out of a possible 493 games in his career. The Pelicans entered today with the NBA's worst record. Tonight at 6 o'clock, we got a special edition of SDFC Midweek Live. The guys are going to look back at the team's inaugural first season and look ahead to what's going to come in this offseason. That's San Diego FC Midweek Live tonight at 6 o'clock. Audible's romance collection has something to satisfy every side of you. Fall for a brooding duke, dive into a steamy romantasy series from Sarah J. Maas, or find the perfect rom-com from Lily Chu. Start listening free when you sign up for a 30-day trial at audible.com.
It's Jon and Jim.
Let's face it, in your particular field, you're the top minds.
Your favorite pair.
Interesting job you guys
Very
had.
smart and very modern.
They are Jon and Jim.
That's all you need to know about me.
I did see net rankings came out today, and there's some crazy net rankings out there because of how few games have been played so far.
Early, yeah. I mean, you got San Diego State's at 123, which again makes sense because they lost at home to Troy and they lost 2 out of 3 in Vegas.
Oregon's like in the 190s.
Oregon's near 200, yeah. So
Give me
it's very.
like
I'm
a
not.
random team with a high net ranking that should not be there.
Now live from the studios of San Diego Sports 760, it's Jon and Jim.
All right, final hour of Jon and Jim on a Tuesday. John's recovering from his colonoscopy, eating burritos and ice cream and whatnot. He'll be back on tomorrow's show. But right now, our good friend, Darnay Tripp, joining us here on Jon and Jim. How you doing, buddy? How's everything going in San Diego?
Everything's going pretty well. You know, glad to be in the holiday season. Good Thanksgiving week. The Twins are really excited for Christmas, so we got our hands full, but all is well. What about yourself, Jim?
Oh, that's great. I'm just, pounding Wawas and eating tasty cakes the whole entire week. I've gained at least 10 pounds, and because I've sent you all the pictures. I don't think I can go much longer eating like this, Darnay. It might be a problem.
I think you should test that theory and just see how far you can go. My jealousy is palpable with every single picture you send. I just am incredibly envious of you. I also know I can go outside without a jacket, and you can't right now. So there's a give and take here. Life is pretty good in San Diego. Eating is pretty good in Philadelphia as well. So definitely a little envious.
Yes, it is. It's not good right now. It's that the Padres offseason potentially could be a very quiet one. We were talking about this today. Jay Cronenworth is a latest name that's out there on potentially the trade block. I don't even know if I could say that because it's not official, but when Jeff Passan's put it out there, you kind of have to take his word for it a little bit. And when he mentions things like they have to move money, that's when my eyebrows raise. I'm sure your eyebrows raised as well. What are your thoughts on potentially the Padres trading Jake Cronenworth this offseason?
Well, I mean, I think it's worth noting that, Passan in his write-up had the odds at about 25%. So this wasn't like, like you said, it's not like he's on the block per se. I think they just kind of scan the landscape for guys that could potentially be trade targets, and Jake Cronenworth would make sense. The issue with it is, then you got to find a second baseman, and I think has our outlook on Jake Cronenworth's contract evolved a little bit through time? I think there's a period of time where it looked not great. Now with, coming off a solid season, certainly not his best work, but I think kind of a step forward a bit from where what we saw the year or two previous, the versatility he gives you, obviously a good clubhouse guy and making what, 11 million a year or so. It's not a huge number. So obviously with all these deals, it all kind of comes down to what you get in return. If you can get an arm to slot into the rotation or what have you, maybe you feel good about it. But I just worry about creating one issue while trying to address another. And, what we don't necessarily know is how dire the financial situation is, because again, I think I've said this with you guys, like we had some of the same conversations last year. They went out and got Pavetta. They had a top 10 payroll and, did enough to field a team that I think after the trade deadline, we felt like, okay, they could win some playoff series. And then things kind of faltered down the stretch. So I got to let AJ Preller, see this thing through and see what he's able to do before I hit the panic button. I think a lot of that is based on what we saw last year when it seemed similar. They got Nick Pavetta, ended up being in a pretty decent place, all things considered.
Well, you might be looking at a lame duck GM making moves this offseason that doesn't have a contract extension. I mean, like that to me, we talked about this yesterday, myself and John, like, are you serious? You're about to go to the winter meetings and this guy doesn't have a contract extension. It's December 2nd. I mean, we've gone through a managerial change, the team going up for sale. Like, it just feels kind of odd, doesn't it? That there's still no word on his future as a general manager and president of baseball operations for this team.
Yeah, for sure. And the fact that there's the potential of an ownership change and, would you, offering up an extension to somebody in his position when you don't know who his boss is going to be in a year or so. And so there's all these different layers to it. I think that was part of my reaction. I think the reaction of others once we found out about them pursuing a sale is, well, that, that makes a little bit more sense from AJ Preller's standpoint, why things haven't been buttoned up, because you know who he is. He's around a lot. I got to think you've had ample opportunity to have those conversations. AJ Preller always says they want to get through the managerial search and get into the off season. And, before getting to that, what happens in January and into February. Certainly if you get to spring training and you're in that situation, then it seems really, really curious, because at some point I think things will settle down a little bit with the off season, at least settle down enough for them to have those conversations. If those continue to not happen, it can't help but raise some red flags and serious questions.
Darnay Tripp joining us here on Jon and Jim. When you look at the needs for this team and you see the market now for starting pitching, Dylan Cease getting 7 for 210. Cody Pont today has a 5.86 career ERA in the bigs. I know he was the Dong Award winner in the KBO last year, but he gets 3 for 30. You're kind of sitting here wondering, like, okay, how are they going to fill all these holes in the rotation? Doesn't it feel kind of like an equation that you can't figure it out right now, and it seems like it's not really easily solvable?
Johnny Brito, baby. We need Johnny Brito to arrive. Be that guy, when Michael King felt like the Padres won the Juan Soto trade because of the potential he saw, and Randy Vasquez obviously himself, and Johnny Brito, Randy Vasquez, a sneaky good 2025 season, pretty reliable for the most part. And Johnny Brito, man, time to step up, have the best off season of your life, and come out on fire in spring training. Preller got awfully creative with that Nick Pavetta deal, so I would imagine there could be some more creativity just in terms of like a contract structure with a veteran arm that you feel like can get you some innings, going through that Jeff Passan piece. You're kind of scrubbing through, you're seeing the Padres names a lot as, potential fits, and you're trying to figure, okay, who's on, a palatable contract. And there's some guys in there that you thought, okay, that might be a possibility. And then, Ponce obviously being on the market. I can't remember. I think Nick Martinez, when he came over from Japan, got like in the 8-9 range per year, if I'm not mistaken. So, Ponce not a huge jump up from where Martinez was. Obviously that ship has sailed, but again, I think a lot about last year and how that Nick Pivetta deal kind of gave us some hope and some life and some optimism for 2025 because we weren't sure. It was kind of a similar situation. What can they afford? Can they go out and get somebody to address their needs? And they got Pivetta, at least in the front end, first year of that contract, really, really team friendly. I would imagine there will be some creative bookkeeping going into whatever acquisition signings are made to bring in a quality arm, quality talent, somebody they can rely on, but somebody that can fit the budget as well.
Yeah, AJ, just Tetris this thing together once again in the offseason. Good luck, buddy.
It's every single offseason. And I thought about it even with the position player situation is pretty solid, and that hasn't been the case. But the rotation being what it is, whether it's the outfield, a couple years ago, going into the season with one outfielder, and we're in this situation again. Every team has holes to fill, but seems like every year with the Padres, there are some glaring questions that AJ Preller is going to have to somehow come up with an answer for.
Donate Trip joining us here on Jon and Jim. I wanted to get to SDFC while we have you. So their season ended last Saturday night, 3-1 loss to Vancouver at home in the Western Conference Finals. They got on 3-0 in the first half. What were your emotions after that game? Was it of disappointment? Or was it of, actually, let's celebrate this thing? Because we don't know if this team's going to get back to this position again or when they will. I mean, having home field advantage in the Western Conference Finals, you might only get that once in a blue moon. So, what were your final thoughts on SDFC's season?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to appreciate what they did. Nobody expected them to be at this point, have the greatest expansion season, to reach the conference final. You just never could have imagined a season like that. And so I think, this has happened a million times in the course of professional sports where a team comes out of nowhere, has a special season, and they're not, the team celebrating at the end. And they lost to a really, really good team in Vancouver and texting somebody that knows the league a lot better than I do, a team that they feel like, these are probably the two best teams, them and Miami, and they have a chance to give Messi and company some trouble in the final. And so, Vancouver just looked different. They look certainly different, compared to the teams that SDFC has faced, in the postseason and in the stretch. They didn't have Thomas Mueller before in their previous meetings, and he was really a difference maker. And it was a team that just didn't let SDFC do what SDFC has done all season. They hit him in the mouth out of the gates, and that was just obviously a really tough way to start the game. But I think you have to celebrate the season, feel really good about it, be optimistic and excited for next year. And as difficult as it is as a sports fan, just to make peace that, hey, there are two really good teams on the field. The other guys were the better team. And I don't think there's any shame in the season ending the way that it did. And, it'll be interesting to see what Vancouver does against a Miami team with Messi playing out of his mind and Miami just being on a roll right now.
Man, it was so close. We could have had a Messi. It was all set up. And again, it's you don't know when they're going to be back. It was an incredible first season, but still, it was so close. And
the other thing too, and granted, it's like social media, and you see stuff on Twitter, and people are like, okay, they're a San Diego team now. I got that after the game 2 against Portland, where they had the series 1 and they gave it away. This didn't strike me as they blew it, they choked, what a blown opportunity, that sort of thing. I just you came up against a really good team. They were better than you that day. I think you can at some point get over the disappointment without feeling like it was a massive letdown. I mean, Vancouver's really, really good. SDFC had a great season, and that's just kind of how it played out.
So I'm guessing you didn't see my tweet then.
What was it, Jim?
It was, you didn't see it? It got everyone's hating me for it. I said, a San Diego sports team looking completely uncharacteristic of themselves and laying an egg in the postseason. A tale as old as time. Welcome to the club, SDFC.
Yeah, I mean, look, they didn't play as well as they could have. I think if you run the simulation 10 times, Vancouver probably wins a number of times. I think regardless, even if SDFC had played a little bit better and, they gave themselves an opportunity, the Chucky goal, and you watching some of those opportunities, you're like, okay, they might have a Hail Mary's chance, but I get it. I understand they didn't play to their level, and that's disappointing. I'll give you that. But they lost to a good team. What can you do?
They did. All right, man. We'll catch up with you soon and have a great rest of your night. What's up? What's for dinner tonight? What do you think? What do you think was for dinner tonight?
Another Wawa stop on the way home.
There's like 3 options, and I've only eaten these 3 things: pizza, Wawa, and tasty cakes. Like that's my diet this week. And
Is
also
there no
bagels.
cheesesteak yet?
Oh no, cheesesteak has been thrown in the mix. I sent you a picture. Remember those sandwiches?
Oh, you sent me a picture. That's right.
Yeah, the most amazing sandwiches of all time.
Only one at this point.
No, I've had 2 cheesesteaks. 2 cheesesteaks. More to come for sure. So I'll keep you updated. I look forward to the pictures. Yeah, I'll keep you updated on my cheesesteak intake from here on out. All right, Darnay, have a good one, man. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks, you too.
All right, Darnay Tripp, NBC7 there, joining us here on Jon and Jim. We're going to hear from Kyle Glazer again. If you missed that conversation, you'll hear that at the bottom of the hour. My back page still to come. All that coming up next right here on Jon and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, the Aztecs are back from Vegas and getting ready for Utah Valley tomorrow night at Viejas Arena. Our pregame coverage will begin at 6 p.m. John will have the tip after 7 right here on your home for the Aztecs, San Diego Sports 760. Speaking of the Aztecs, not the basketball team, but the football team, awards were handed out today for the Mountain West Conference. Aztec players all over the awards list. This one to me, interesting because I think he should have been just flat out the defensive player of the year. But Chris Johnson was officially named Mount West co-defensive player of the year today. Amazing accomplishment. He had a phenomenal season. A season where he's going to be drafted in at the worst day 2. Like he had a type of year where he's going to go second round. Could he jump into the first round? Like, listen to these numbers this year for Chris Johnson when targeted. Quarterbacks when targeting players that were guarded by Chris Johnson. 18 for 45, 185 yards, 4 interceptions, 0 touchdowns. The quarterbacks had a 56.8 pass efficiency rating. Is that good, Brent?
Yes.
Yes, it's very good. Just a phenomenal year. The last home game of the season, he made an interception. You know what I'm talking about, Brent, where he wasn't even looking at the trajectory of the football. And within a matter of seconds, he turns his head, it was one of the best interceptions you'll ever see. I didn't think he had a shot. And then he comes up with it. It was just an insane play. So congratulations to Chris Johnson, co-defensive player of the year. Here are the top graded cornerbacks in the regular season, according to PFF. Chris Johnson, number 1 in the entire nation. The entire nation. 92.0, according to PFF. The number 1 cornerback in the entire nation. He was a huge reason why the Aztecs finished as co-regular season champions in the Mountain West. Phenomenal year. Other awards, first team offense, Lucky Sutton. I can't do it. I can't do it. Ross Ulu, I'm going to butcher his name, and we had him on the radio, and he told us how to pronounce it. Masauli, I think it is. And then on defense, Trey White, Owen Chambliss, Chris Johnson, Jordan Napier is a punt returner. Second team, Jordan Napier, Christian Jones, Gabe Placencia. Second team defense, Hunter Green, honorable mentions, Seth Adams, Bio Kinnick, Tana Latui, Bryce Phillips, Delashawn Staley. I mean, the Aztecs were all over the end of year awards in the Mountain West Conference, as they should be. I mean, they had a phenomenal year from going from 3 wins to 9 wins and a chance to win 10 games in their bowl game. If they finish 10-3 on the year, like, I know a lot of Aztec haters out there will poo-poo it, whatever bowl game they go to, but the goal of this team is to compete for Mountain West Conference championships and now compete for Pac-12 championships and make bowl games. That's what they are trying to do. Win conference championships, compete for bowl games, and hopefully one day get into the college football playoff. And they're on the right path. And Sean Lewis, so far, you know, I said this was a huge year for Coach Lewis, and he absolutely delivered. I like Sean Lewis a lot. Talked to him a bunch, hung out with him. I want him to succeed so bad. And I think after this season, like future is very bright. And now the tough part is all these players that returned are all going to be gone. Like, you got to replace Chris Johnson. You got to replace Trey White. You got to replace Tunnelutui, right? And you got to replace some of these big names on the offensive line. That's going to be tough. Can he do that and also maintain, the winning of this program now, which is at the highest level in their conference, competing for conference championships, competing for spots in the college football playoff, making bowl games consistently. That's the standard for San Diego State football. And Sean Lewis brought that standard back this year. It was a disappointing ending. That was not a fun ending to the season, the regular season, and that double overtime loss. You wish they would have won so they could have been hosting a Mountain West Conference title game this weekend at Snapdragon Stadium, but it didn't happen. And now we'll see where they are going bowling. Hopefully it's a semi-decent bowl. Hopefully they can win that, get to 10 wins, move into the offseason, get a great recruiting class, go through the NIL, go through the transfer portal with NIL, and then hopefully compete for a Mountain West Conference, Pac-12 Conference Championship next year. All right, coming up next, if you missed it earlier in the show, Kyle Glazer joined me talking about the Padres offseason, what they need to do, the Jake Cronenworth question, also the Mason Miller question. Should he become a starter? Should he stay a reliever? You'll hear what Kyle Glazer had to say coming up next right here on Jon and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Staples. Aztec Hoops is back at Viejas Arena tomorrow night when they take on Utah Valley. Our pregame coverage will start at 6 o'clock. John will have the tip a little after 7 o'clock. In NBA news, Pelicans forward Zion Williamson will miss extended time with a right adductor injury, according to ESPN. Williams has already missed 11 games this season. He is going to be reevaluated in about 3 weeks. Tonight at 6 o'clock, we got a special edition of SDFC Midweek Live. The guys look back at the team's great inaugural first season and look ahead to what's going to happen this offseason. You can catch SDFC Midweek Live tonight at 6 o'clock. Have an easy holiday only at Staples. Save on custom cards and custom wrapping paper, plus shipping supplies and services to get your package delivered safely. Don't miss out on select laptops up to 45% off. Visit staples.com for details. Staples. That was easy.
All right, back here on Jon and Jim. John will return tomorrow from his colonoscopy. I can't wait to hear all about it, Brent.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he'll go into great detail.
He won't. He'll be too embarrassed, and he'll think that if he says anything about it, that he's gonna we're gonna get like an FCC violation. It's like, John, you can say things about like medical procedures. You just got to use the right terminology.
Can I say butt on the radio?
Can I say poo-poo on the radio? Yes, John. It's okay. Can I say colonoscopy on the radio? Yes, John, it's okay. But that's what you get from a classic hypochondriac. Classic hypochondriac, they are scared about everything. Even though he called me an a-hole 2 times on the radio, like live on the air. You were there, right, Brent? You were part of that, right?
Yeah, I had to dump him.
And he's like, what? You can't say it on the air? I'm like, no, you idiot.
He gets dumped more than anybody on the station.
He has. He's been dumped more than me on this show.
Oh, easily.
And on any show. I've never, well, let me take that back. I think I've been dumped one time. It was an accident. I think I might have said the S word.
The only other person that I've had to dump more than John is Hardwick.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
I used to have to dump Hardwick all the time.
That makes sense. I remember one time we had Jeremy Clary. I think, I forget who we had. We had a former Charger offensive lineman on the radio, and he did not understand that he was on the radio. And every other word was like the S word or the F word. It was just like, okay, we got to stop this right now. Like, we can't have him continue to talk like this on the radio. But yeah, other than that, I've had to dump things that I played on air that I forgot to air check real quick. We've all done that. Yeah, everybody's done that. But like actively curse on the radio and know that I'm saying it without it slipping out, John he leads the pack in that. All right, so if you missed it earlier in the day, Kyle Glazer of the Friar Territory podcast joined us, and we talked to him, of course, about what we've been talking about all day, which is Jake Cronenworth going to be traded this offseason? That's what he had to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Jake Cronenworth is the one contract that is movable right now, and the Padres have to clear up salary space in order to fill all their needs. So it's not so much about wanting to get rid of Jake Cronenworth as the Padres have kind of put themselves in this position, and now they have to make some hard choices.
Kyle Glazer joining us here on Jon and Jim. So winter meetings next week. Do you envision it to be a quiet winter meetings for the Padres, or do you think that we could see some fireworks here next week? Because, the needs for this team are pretty clear right now, and it is starting pitching. That market could move quickly. What's your guess on what we could see next week?
Realistically, the Padres, given their financial position, need to wait the market out and see who some of the cheaper options are that emerge as we get closer and closer toward next season. Similar to Nick Pivetta last year, was one of the last marquee starting pitchers on the market. The Padres were able to sign him for a deal where he only got $1 million in his first year, and then all his salaries were going to rise pretty significantly after that. Unless the Padres, again, are able to move Jake Cronenworth and his contract and maybe find ways to shave off some other, payroll amounts, whether that's Wandy Peralta or Yuki Matsui, I would expect it to be a quiet winter meeting just because the Padres don't have the financial capital to really match up with what a lot of other teams are going to be offering starting pitchers.
What'd you make of the Dylan Cease deal with the Blue Jays?
I was certainly surprised by the number, 7 years, $210 million, just because Dylan Cease did not have a good year last year, and he would be the first person to admit that. But we know teams are always looking for starters who stay healthy and starters who can miss bats. And that is something Dylan Cease does consistently. Look, the walks last year were not good. The fastball command last year was not good. The ERA was not good. The home runs allowed were not good. But the Blue Jays have a track record of taking some veterans who maybe don't have the best command and helping them become the best versions of themselves. They did that with Robbie Ray pretty successfully a few years ago. So I was surprised at the dollar amount, but I do think it's a good fit. And look, we'll see if the Blue Jays are right that they can fix them. It's just $210 million is a pretty big bet that they can do so.
And do you think that this is good news for Michael King, and this probably completely prices out the Padres from any type of reunion with Michael King?
It's good for every starting pitcher on the market. Framber Valdez, Ranger Suarez, they are partying hard right now. And Michael King, look, it was always a fantasy that he was going to somehow come back or be available on a one-year pillow contract. Just given his performance, given the durability he showed in 2024, given his stuff, he was going to get no less than the 3-year, $71 million contract Luis Severino got from the A's. Likely the floor was going to be 3 years, $75 million, which is what Sonny Gray and Nate Eovaldi got last on their contracts. That was the floor to begin with. If he's healthy and his medicals turn out great, we could be looking at 5 years, 130, 140 million. So realistically, the Padres were always going to be priced out. At the same time, after the Dylan Cease deal, there's no question that it becomes even more likely that his price range is just going to be so far out of what the Padres can afford.
Yeah, there's a reason why Dylan Cease signed so quickly, because I'm guessing when he saw that number, he couldn't sign fast enough. So yeah, the market for starting pitchers is definitely going to be crazy this offseason. Kyle Glazer of the On Fire podcast joining us here for a couple more minutes on Jon and Jim. What are your thoughts on Mason Miller, the starter?
This is going to be very, very interesting. So the Padres, when they acquired Mason Miller last year, had the intention of having this conversation with him. He was going to be a reliever the rest of the season. Then the offseason, they were going to broach this topic with him. Mason Miller has never thrown more than 65 innings in any professional season, and he has never thrown more than 100 innings in any season period. His career high was 92 and 2/3 innings at Gardner-Webb. So it's a situation where he has a long track record of injuries. He has a long track record of not being able to hold up under a starter's workload. So it would be a big, big, big risk. At the same time, he does have starting experience. He broke into the majors as a starter. So the Padres are going to have to make the decision. Do they want him as their dominant closer? Do they value that more than potentially getting 125 innings of being a really, really good starter? And that's a best case scenario. It would be something, again, like Tyler Glasnow, where you know he's going to miss time. You know you're going to top out 125, 130 innings, but you know they're going to be great. They have to make the decision what's more valuable to them. But there's no question. I would put the odds of it panning out fairly low, just given he has never been able to stay healthy. And there's a long track record of injuries here under a starter's workload.
So if they're backed into a corner that say that they can't, we talked about this, going out and spending money, probably not in the cards for them because of, the ownership trying to sell the team and the payroll problems. Like if they're put into a corner here, Kyle, and they have to move a reliever to be a starter, is Mason Miller the best option, or is there another option that you think could be a better option than Mason Miller? Because like they have to fill 2 to 3 spots in the rotation, and the likelihood of them going out and signing 3 starting pitchers, I don't know if that's going to be possible this offseason.
Moving Mason Miller to the rotation is the best of the bad options. Mm-hmm. So Mason Miller, again, at least has broken into the majors as a starter, has shown some durability in the 90 to 100 inning range back in college. Adrian Morhone, who I covered throughout my tenure at Baseball America, literally from the moment he signed all the way to his major league debut, and of course now, he has an even worse injury history than Mason Miller does, and he has never thrown more than 73 innings in a season, which he did last year in any capacity. Putting him as a starter would not go well. He gets hurt very, very quickly whenever he does. He's rarely ever made it to midseason. David Morgan's another option. He's a converted outfielder who's kind of got a fresh arm, which makes it intriguing. Again, he's fairly new to pitching and has never started at any level. So, look, the Padres don't have a lot of great internal options. Mason Miller would be the best of them. But again, I put the chances of success at 20%, and that's if I'm being really, really generous.
You can catch Kyle Glazer on the Friar Territory podcast on YouTube. If you haven't already, go check it out. They just brought on Marty Caswell to be a part of the Friar Territory podcast. So go check it out. Go subscribe to the channel. Watch Kyle every week talking Padres, and we'll catch up with you down the road. All right, Kyle?
Sounds good. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, there's Kyle Glazer of the Friar Territory podcast. All right, we'll wrap up today's show. Coming up next with my back page. Stay with us right here on Jon and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, final stop here on Jon and Jim for the day. Jon will be back tomorrow from his colonoscopy. Then we have Aztec basketball tomorrow night. I'm sure Jon will say he needs to leave at like 4:30.
It's probably earlier than that.
He's like, I need to leave at like 3 o'clock.
There's 3 cars on the freeway. I got to go at 2:30.
Like, what do you need to do? Like, call an Aztec basketball game or something? Anyway. All right, Brent, let's get to it. Brent, have you ever heard of a Mr. Charlie's? And by the way, shout out to Douglas for sending me this story for the back page today. Have you ever heard of a Mr. Charlie's?
Like Chicken Charlie's? Or no, then I don't think so.
Mr. Charlie's has quickly grown in popularity as the chain that serves just about everything you could crave, but only vegan. So
no wonder I never heard of it.
A Big Mac, but make it meatless and just delicious. Mr. Charlie's, the fast food chain known as the vegan McDonald's, is opening 2 locations in San Diego. The famous chain, actually called Mr. Charlie's Told Me So, became super famous in cities such as Los Angeles and San Francisco. Their Mr. Royal with cheese and Mr. Chuck won over even the hearts of avid meat lovers. The chain will open 2 new locations in PB and Hillcrest, according to What Now San Diego. The Pacific Beach one is expected to launch in 3 weeks in the former home of Brazilian Bulls. This one is ran by an ex-military veteran who has announced that the team will sometimes be working on military-related events for the site. Okay. I don't know about this one.
Hard pass.
Yeah, I if I want a Big Mac, I'll get a Big Mac.
Yeah, and I never believe those things are like, oh, avid meat eaters thought it was delicious. No, they didn't. They're like humoring you. They didn't think it was delicious.
Like, you know, when you ever take a bite of something, you're like, oh, that's good, and then you have like 4 more bites of it, and you realize like, actually, it was just the first bite that was good, and like the 5th bite's not great at all.
It's like going to like family dinners and stuff, to where it's like, you know, I might not like my aunt's macaroni and cheese, but I'm not going to be a douche and tell her it sucks. I'm going to, you know, take a bite, like, yeah, it's good.
Like, you can withstand, like, the first bite's fine. Like, it's okay. It's not bad. I'm not going to throw up. It's not inedible, but it's not something I want to like continue eating, right? Like, I bet you if I had a bite of one of their vegan Big Macs, I bet you my first reaction would be like, it's not that bad. And then if you told me I'd eat the whole thing, I'd be like, I'm okay. I'm good. Like, that's what I kind of envision this to be. But anyway, if you're down for Mr. Charlie's, which is the vegan alternative to McDonald's, well, you're in luck. Hillcrest and PB open up 2 locations. The performers, Brent, were announced for this year's New Year's Rockin' Eve with Ryan Seacrest. Here's some of the performers. 4 Non-Blondes, 50 Cent, AJR, Chance the Rapper, Chappelle Roan, Charlie Puth, Ciara, Demi Lovato, Goo Goo Dolls, Jordan Davis, Lil Jon, Madison Beer, Post Malone, Pitbull, One Republic, Russell Dickerson, New Kids on the Block, Mariah Carey, Little Big Town, K-pop Demon Hunters. That is like,
just to tell you how old I am, I knew who about 10 of those 50 people were.
Yeah, I know.
I know 4 Non-Blondes. The obvious ones, like what do you say, New Kids on the Block, and like
Mariah
some of the others,
Carey.
but yeah, Mariah Carey, like some of the
Pitbull.
Yeah, Pitbull. He sucks, but yeah, I know who he is.
The All American Rejects.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
There's like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's like 30 performers here for New Year's Eve in New York City. The big one is the K-pop Demon Hunters. When Jon told me when he mentioned K-pop Demon Hunters, I'm like, what are you talking about? Now that song, Golden, I can't get out of my head. I heard it one time and I was like, oh, this is catchy.
I've never heard any of the songs.
It's
I just know
stuck in
know what it
my
is.
freaking head. But yeah, 50 Cent, Chance the Rapper. It's Chappelle Roan, I think it's her name. Charlie Puth, Demi Lovato. Anyway, the New Year's Rockin' Eve with Ryan Seacrest. I like how they call it Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve with Ryan Seacrest. Like, okay.
That's because it's Dick Clark Productions.
I know. Moving on here. If you are an AT&T customer, I know you are not, Brent. You're a T-Mobile. But AT&T customers have 2 weeks left to claim up to $7,500 in data breach settlements. Here's how you do it if you're eligible. Now, I have AT&T, so my first thought is, am I eligible? But there was a breach back in 2019. 7.6 million current AT&T customers and 65.4 million former account holders were affected by the data breach in 2019. There was a settlement. Where was this? In March this past year, those affected by the AT&T One data incident will get a $149 million payout in the proposed settlements, while the class included in AT&T data incident will receive $28 million. So basically, all that divided by however much, that's how much is going out to people. To see if you are eligible, go to your email. You should have got an email. Check your spam folder from Kroll Settlement Administration. And if you got that, you can file a claim and you can get it to $7,500 back. So now after the show, I'm going to be looking in my spam folder to see if I got an email from Kroll Settlement. Because I need that money. $7,500 would go a long way right now. I'll tell you that.
Buy a lot of cheesesteaks.
A lot of cheesesteaks, a lot of Wawa, a lot of pizza. And get even fatter than I am right now.
That's all right, dude. It's cold out there.
It is cold. Yeah. It's let me check the weather right now. It is 34 degrees in Bala Kenwood. All right, that will do it. Coming up next, SDFC Midweek Live. Guys are wrapping up the season. We'll be back tomorrow. Stay with us right here on San Diego Sports 760.